This episode of The Gaming Outsider is brought to you by eWin Racing, the home of the best heavy-duty gaming chairs. I can tell you from personal experience that I've never sat in a more comfortable chair at my desk. eWin Racing has chairs for gamers of all sizes, too. As a Gaming Outsider listener, you can get 20% off your purchase using our promo code TGO at ewinracing.com. eWin Racing, the best gaming chairs out there.
Hi, folks. Tim Kitzer here, the voice of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, reporting live that Scott Clark is heating up. Wait, no, it can't be. The Gaming Outsider is all here, and they're on fire. Kaboom!
What's happening, Gaming Outsiders? On this episode, we're talking about gaming myths that we totally fell for in our early years. In news, you'll hear us discuss who might be playing Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat movie sequel, and we have a ton of new games to talk about as well. I played a Vampire Survivors clone called Soul Survivors. We'll also hear from David, Kevin, and Jacob about multiple titles, including a hockey roguelike called Tape to Tape, Stray Blade, Shardpunk Verminfall, and a party game called Screaming Chicken Ultimate Showdown. Yes, you heard that right. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. It is Sunday, May 7th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my good friends, Mr. Zack Parkerson.
Oh, so nice to have you in the hosting seat again.
It's good to be back, man. And Alyssa White. What's up, Alyssa?
Well, I'm doing much better now. I told you guys before I was feeling not great, but you guys have lifted my spirits up, and now I'm a little wild.
That's good. If you guys only heard what we talked about before we hit record, that's why we have Peace of Mind episodes.
Laughter. You guys missed the laughter. I'm sorry. It was full hyena.
Well, speaking of laughter, I had a pretty awesome day yesterday. I went down. Do you guys remember when I did the interview with Doc Mack from Galloping Ghost Arcade?
Yeah.
Decided to go over to Galloping Ghost yesterday. I went down there with Jacob from our community because Cy Quinones from our community was in town from Colorado, and I got to meet up with him and shake hands, and that was really cool. So that was fun. Him and his son were both there. They're in town in Chicago seeing a couple Cubs games, and told him to go to Pequod's. So they're doing that today after the game, so I'm really eager to hear how he liked that. But it was awesome to meet up with him. Also ran into Brandon over at Disc Replay yesterday. He was an avid listener, and I got to say, he's a pretty big fan of you guys. He was very adamant that he was hoping that you guys were going to be at R2V2 because he wanted to meet both of you. So,
like, he's a fan of us too, like, you know, like shipping wise, or as just hosts on the podcast.
Is that still a thing,
Just
by the way?
hosts on the podcast.
I was just checking in.
But also, I'm now a fan of you, Brandon, since you're a fan of me. And of Zack, of course.
You are now a fan of Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you said not a fan.
I heard
no,
not
I
as
am.
well.
I am a fan of Brandon. I am sorry.
What did he do?
See, I told you, I'm
taking
wild
a shot
now.
at Brandon. Yeah, man. She's loose.
Anyway, don't forget R2V2 2023 is happening October 14th. Sissy Jones is coming. John St. John is coming. There's going to be a wedding. There's going to be games to buy. There's going to be a video game museum, VR, all kinds of awesome stuff. So be sure to mark your calendars. But let's get into the games we've been catching up on. Zack, I heard you guys talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor last week. You've made quite some progress.
Well, yeah, I beat the game.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I beat it just last night. About 32 hours or so.
Wow.
Okay. Because from the text you sent me, you told me a specific time when the story got better.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's not very far off.
About 25 hours in, it really picks up. Real Final Fantasy 13 energy over here.
I was just going to say that. I liked Final Fantasy 13
up to
the opening. So
yeah,
anyway.
I actually love 13. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a game I have complicated feelings on. I don't think the story is particularly good.
Overall, really?
Yeah. I mean, there's some cool stuff that certainly happens towards the end of the game, but there's just so much flimsy writing and kind of it doesn't, you know how like Fallen Order, right? There's a lot of like Cal kind of sitting with his emotions, or Seer, you know, having these heartful conversations, or I always remember there's a conversation where like Grease just talks to Cal about how he and Seer should apologize after a fight because he doesn't like the tension in the ship and stuff like that. Yeah. Just these little character moments, and nothing like that happens in Jedi Survivor. Like there's none of these little character moments, or these nobody's sitting with anything for very long. A lot of stuff. There's a lot of like oh, these two characters have beef with each other, but then they talk and they don't appear to at all. They just like bury the hatchet, but not during the conversations you saw, I guess.
So it sounds like they just did all the character development and then just said they're developed. That's good enough.
Yeah, but also yeah. But they have new tensions, but then they just kind of float around them. It's very weird. I don't want to take shots at the writing team, but it feels like there had to be some kind of shakeup.
I mean, we do that as humans. Like, we don't always often confront issues and just kind of dance around it.
Sure.
I haven't played the game, so I can't speak to what you're talking about. I'm just
I think when you see it, you would see that it's not some kind of realistic depiction of humans. It's just like, oh, these guys haven't talked in years, and they see each other, and there's like brief tension. And they're like, okay, let's get to work. It's just really, really jarring. After
listening to you guys talk about it last week, I swore you guys didn't like the game.
Well, so let me finish these thoughts on the story here.
All right.
I kind of want to go to the spoilers, but there's like some late game twists that are just so like bland and obvious. It's like almost laughably obvious some of the things they do. You don't always have to have a great twist, but when you treat the moment as a big twist, but it's like, well, yeah, I knew that. It's always disappointing. But there is a lot of the romantic subplot, I think, is handled very well. So there is some positives, and I like Cal's darker persona in this entry. However, yeah, the story kind of a bust, but the gameplay I think is exceptional.
Okay,
better in almost every way, except I think the bosses are really easy, which is disappointing. There's only one boss I kind of got stuck on, which is unfortunate when you're playing on hard mode in a Souls-like. I'm kind of looking for the challenge, but when I beat the final boss on the first try, that doesn't really feel too satisfying to me.
Well, you also like completed Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Like all of Elden Ring.
I platinumed it. It's no big deal.
The master over here.
Yeah, so maybe there's some of that in there. But I think the exploration's a lot more fun. And though, like last week I talked about how it's kind of frustrating in the open world area because you'll do like a platforming challenge that'll take you 10 minutes, but then you'll get to a door and you just can't do anything yet because you don't have the right item.
Yeah.
And that's usually the satisfying part of a Gear Gated game is like, oh, I can't wait to get back to this door. But it is a little frustrating on Kobo in this game because you can, because of it's so big and it's such an open world that you spend so much time getting to a thing. And then it's just like, well, don't you wish you could dash in the air? You're like, yes, I do. I do wish that.
Those are the moments where I always wish you could mark your map. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm at this point that Zach's talking about, and I'm like, I see what he was talking about, because this is frustrating, actually.
Yeah, and a lot of them have shortcuts that you can make, but some of them don't, which means that, well, a 15-minute platforming area, or 10-minute platforming area I just completed, I'm just going to have to do again later.
Right.
Just so I can click the right button on the door. That's kind of frustrating. But when you do go back there and you get the reward and you find a goatee for Cal, that's pretty satisfying.
That's all you get is cosmetics?
Yeah, everything's cosmetic. Nothing has stats, which I really appreciate because you know how I hate extra 7% damage.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that everything is just cosmetic, and I'm glad that it's not always a poncho. So that's nice.
That's good.
Yeah, real change of face. But yeah, and then I think all the puzzle solving is a lot of fun. I think the platforming in this game is exceptional. As I said, I'm sure last week, Prince of Persia 2008 energy, love it. It's kind of like Prince of Persia platforming meets Zelda puzzles. The quick little logic puzzles Zelda used to be famous for, not anymore, obviously. But yeah, I think playing it is just a hell of a lot of fun, and I do kind of want to explore Kobo and try to see if I can get the platinum or 100%. But it was weird. When I beat Fallen Order, the first thing I wanted to do was play Fallen Order again. And I beat Survivor here, and I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever play this again.
On to the next game.
Yeah, because there's like a 15, 20 hour chunk in the middle of this game where nothing happens, storyline wise.
That's a long chunk.
Yeah,
dude,
that
it's
is
brutal.
I'm so torn on whether or not I want to play this game because after hearing you and Chris, I'm like, boy, that doesn't sound like a game I want to spend 32 hours playing. But then I have other people messaging me privately, like on Facebook, saying you got to play this game. It is so much fun, and just
it is.
It
fun.
is really fun.
If you're looking for that gameplay, it's exceptional. I think it's better than the first game in terms of gameplay. It's just, as somebody who was so invested in Cal and the Mantis crew, it was definitely disappointing coming here and seeing such a lesser level of quality for all of it. And especially just like, if you remember the first game, right, you were kind of like hunted by the second sister. She would show up and taunt you and throw obstacles in your way. Whereas in this game, the bad guy, I think, interacts with you maybe once after you first meet him.
I think I've just met the bad guy, haven't I?
Yes.
Okay. Making sure.
There's like one part where he tries to, but otherwise he's just kind of like off fluffing about, and you're just chasing after. It's weird, because, and then Fallen Order had a little bit when you were going after its central mystery, you were learning more about Cal or stuff like that, flashbacks. So there's some kind of narrative journey there. Whereas here, as you're chasing the MacGuffin, nothing really happens.
Wow.
Part of that's because you already know Cal, so I guess they couldn't do flashbacks in the same way, but that you could have done something along the way.
Right.
Each planet could have had its own little mini story or something. Just give you, when you're in Kashyyyk in the first game, I know I'm going on. You just know I know how much I love Fallen Order. When you're on Kashyyyk, right, you're there, but you're also like freeing the Wookiees. So you have this little mini story where you're helping Saw Gerrera fight the Empire. But in here, whenever you're laying on a planet, it doesn't have like a little narrative. It's just, nope, I hope you find that MacGuffin.
Have I been pronouncing the Wookiee planet wrong all these years?
I've always said Kashyyyk, so
I go back. I say Kashyyyk, Kashyyyk. I go all over the place. Because I think KOTOR, a lot of characters say Kashyyyk.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think I remember you saying that before, yeah.
Yeah, but then in most media, they say Kashyyyk.
So I'm torn again. Just, like you said, it sounds super fun, but the fact that it's 32 hours is a problem for me because another massive game is coming out this week.
Right, that you can't skip.
Yeah.
I can't skip it. I can't skip Zelda, guys. I'm sorry. I got to start that one. It's just very, very frustrating. There's so many games. I got to stop.
Dude, it's not slowing down, right? And they're all long.
It's not.
Yeah,
they're all long.
30-hour Jedi, probably 100-hour Zelda, infinite amount of time Diablo after that, and then probably, was it a 50-hour Final Fantasy 2 weeks after
Final
that?
Fantasy. Yeah.
It's like every 2 weeks is this huge, long AAA game that we all want to play.
I know. Gotta stop accepting games, but what are you gonna do? Alyssa, what else have you been playing besides Jedi Survivor?
I'm still chugging along with Fire Emblem Engage. Again, I just play this like for an hour before bed sometimes. I believe I'm on chapter 23, so I've got 3 chapters left after this, and then I'll be finished with it, which feels really good. The story, it's gone crazy, but I really like it.
Crazy in a bad way?
No, it's just like, twist I didn't see coming, and
that's
just
cool.
These really awesome moments that I'm just like, oh, they did that. That's really cool.
Man, twist you don't see coming. What a novel concept.
Yeah, and in a strategy game as well.
That's good. That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I played a little more V Hunter Puzzler DX, which I talked about last week. We did Zach, you talked to me about that game.
That's right. We had a little one-on-one sit down.
Do you play a Vampire Hunter?
What's that?
Do you play a Vampire Hunter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
V Hunter. Sorry.
But it is not like an action game. This is straight up puzzle game. Grid-based, sliding puzzle kind of deal. It's more or less like a more complicated. I don't know if more complicated is the fair term. More complex chess game where you just have to kill all the enemies on the screen, and it's all based on movement. Their movement is based on when you move. But the ramp up is very nice. Like it does a really good job of teaching you the mechanics early on. And I've hit a wall where I'm stuck on one level, but thankfully this game does a cool thing. It has an undo button, which is awesome because in games like this, if you get killed, you just
that's not how it happened.
Yes, exactly. It's so nice to be like, oh, I shouldn't have made that move. Instead of having to like retrace your steps and do the whole thing. What did I do to get here? No, I can just back up and just redo that move. It's just there is like a hardcore mode that actually doesn't allow you to do that, and then it also has like it's active, so it's not like they're constantly moving, which I have no desire to do that. I want to be able to sit and kind of map out my stuff, but
it is pretty cool that it caters to all playstyles there.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. It's a clever little game. If you didn't already, check out my review last week. It's in the trailer. It's a nice little game, and I was very appreciative of the developer sending me a copy of it to check it out. So I don't know if I'm gonna I don't know if I'm smart enough to finish it, because like I said, that was one of the nice things I said, is like it's not breaking my brain, and it's starting to break my brain a little bit. But it's also a relatively short game. There's only like 5 worlds, and I'm in the 3rd. So, and the first one seriously took me 15 minutes. The ramp up is that slight, so it's good. But really, really enjoying it. And yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. First, a couple trailers I want to talk about. We got a trailer for Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons, which is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC this fall. Also, F123 coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC June 16th. And then we got a trailer for the Marvel's Midnight Sun DLC called Bloodstorm, which is coming on May 11th. Also, in video game movie news, Carl Urban is in final talks to play Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat sequel. Phil Spencer opened up about Microsoft in an interview this week. That's been making the rounds quite a bit. And lastly, Pixel Opus, the developer, is shutting down officially. Let's start with Zack. What story would you like to talk about, man?
Well, I guess I'll stay on brand and mention PlayStation shutting down the studio, which is it's pretty distressing, man. Yeah, they're shutting down Pixel Opus, who they made Concrete Genie, which is a fun game, by the way. I know about 6 people played it. They're out of there June 2nd.
Is that the paint one? Like you're in a town and there's like yeah.
And then, but it's kind of cool because it kind of keeps shifting its playstyle the more abilities you have. It's right. It was a pretty clever little game. They said on their Twitter, "Dear friends, our Pixel Opus adventure has come to an end. As we look to new futures, we wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the millions of passionate players who have supported us and our mission to make beautiful, imaginative games with heart. We are so grateful." They were reportedly working on a Untitled project in collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation. Unclear what's happening in that project, but I'm sure, it's probably dead. This sucks for me because, as a PlayStation fan, although I know it doesn't always come across, I love PlayStation, but the reason I give them such a hard time is because when they do stuff like this, I see the PlayStation I fell in love with slowly dying. The PlayStation of the PS3 or even the PS4 era, they did a lot of experimental weird stuff. Shutting down a developer like Pixel Opus just shifts again that they're really kind of going for this prestige video game format that they've been so successful with their titles. This third person over the shoulder action game with plenty of cinematics that all of their games seem to be now. Which is fine because most of those games are great, and people love them, and they're almost like the HBO of video games right now. They're just trying to go for these high quality products over anything else, and that's cool. It's just when you see Pixel Opus, they were always or Sony Japan when they got shut down last year, or I'm sorry, restructured last year. Like that sucks because these studios were known for their experiments,
right?
And so you're not going to see any Tokyo Jungles in this world.
Yeah. My question is, this thing is apparently happening June 2nd. What happens between now and June 2nd?
Guess you look for a job.
I mean, are they just like going to keep them on? I mean, clearly they're keeping these people on staff, right? Like, but they're not working on a project.
Yeah, so it seems like they're doing the shutdown in the nice way of like, finish up what you got to finish up. Make sure Concrete Journey works on PS5, I guess. I don't know. And then it gives you time to look for your next thing.
I hate seeing studios shut down at all, especially when they're ones that where somebody I know liked the game as much as they did. In this case, Zach, I know you love this game, and I think Alyssa, you liked it as well.
I never actually had to play it, but I want to now, which is far too late to play it. In regards,
you can still play it.
Well, in regards to the team success, but
right. But yeah, it seems like. It's all about acquisitions and closing studios anymore.
Right. They have PlayStation, for instance, has shut down more studios they have shut down twice as many studios in the last 5 years as they ever had before.
Wow. That's
in terms of how quickly they're
to be clear, Zach,
who they used to be.
That is not you doing investigative journalism. That is you finding that on the internet. I just want to make sure we're not being inaccurate.
No, this is known information.
Okay.
All you need to do is go to wikipedia.com and check the sources.
That is not a good source.
I said you check the sources.
Oh, you check the sources.
Yeah,
on
you always go to the
Wikipedia. Okay.
citations.
Fair enough.
That's how you know if the information is good.
there you go.
Don't be a teacher.
I
I see that. There's a little teacher brain there.
I preach heavily against Wikipedia. Although now it's getting to the point where I'm going to be like, don't you dare go to that Chat GPT.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
TikTok is not a source.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
Yeah.
Alyssa, what story do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Phil Spencer opening up about Microsoft in an interview this week where he
Man, this interview blew up. Holy
Yeah.
cow,
Here's
it was
somebody I
everywhere.
love.
and I mean, you just feel for him because he apologized himself for the failure of Redfall, which is getting blasted pretty badly by critics this week. He took responsibility himself, saying, "I'm upset with myself. I also need to have a great selection of games that continue to come that surprise and delight our fans. We under-delivered on that, and for that I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want, but it's ours to deliver."
We don't have here the best quote of the interview. I'm paraphrasing where he's like, "Sorry, I can't be more positive. It's just been like a bad week, so you're gonna get you like I'm in grumpy mode right now." Or something. It's just I was like, what a dad thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of the case of, I mean, we're going to speak positively about Phil Spencer because I think we all are fans of him, but there's frustrations with Microsoft as well, too. Don't get me wrong. Like, Game Pass is awesome. I thoroughly enjoy Game Pass, but isn't this the first, $70 title that came from Microsoft this year?
And from the Bethesda acquisition, right?
Right. Well, this is Arcane.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
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 Bethesda.
part of
Arcane
the-
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
She's
this was
right.
supposed. Well, I mean,
I'm trying not to be
sorry.
inaccurate.
I'm sorry, Alyssa.
I don't want to be inaccurate. So
Yeah, okay.
if I am, please correct me.
Okay. But it's frustrating that this was like a chance to redeem yourself, because this is a thing that sucks about Microsoft lately is there just hasn't been a lot of AAA quality games. That's where Sony has them, or has had them for several years, is that they've got the better first party titles. And this is granted, I haven't played Redfall. I've heard mixed things about it from people that I know personally. Some people say it's all right, and some people say it's just abysmal. But I just feel like this isn't the one that you would start with, especially if it wasn't
remember,
high quality.
It was there, and one more thing when they announced it.
Yep.
They were proud of this bad boy.
I mean, they even came out with 5 different controllers you could buy through the design lab for this game.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, which 2 of them actually were really cool. 2 designs I really liked, but I think they were $90 a piece. They could have been $85, $90 a piece. And
I mean, has there been a miss from Arcane?
not
Like,
until
has there
this
been-
game. I don't
Let's say-
think.
It depends on who you at. Critically, no, but I know a lot of Arcane fans
Yeah.
were mixed on Deathloop
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
because it didn't have their freeform nature that people love about them.
Right. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of pressure on on Microsoft right now in terms of first party games. I mean, Zach, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but maybe you could share with everyone what you shared with me about a certain Bethesda game coming out here in the next couple months.
Oh, well, there was where I was just pondering with you if has there ever been any video game in history with more pressure on it than Starfield?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, if that thing flops, I seriously am concerned.
well,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and I hate to put like it all on one game or whatever, but that's your last chance, I think, right, to build momentum
Mm-hmm.
for your product. You see the Xbox sales have slowed down, right?
Right.
In the past few
Mhm.
months.
Game Pass sales as well.
Yeah, so I mean, even though it's crazy because the amount of games on Game Pass, you think it would just be a deal at any price, really.
Right, but they also promise every first party title. You know what I mean? Which there
Well,
are
hey,
some.
they've been there,
They've been there, yes, but
all 3 of them.
and that's frustrating. I mean, not for someone like me, because I'm not using Game Pass as much as as a normal person. I am definitely not normal. I'm a weirdo. But
We're all weirdos here.
I don't know. But kudos to Spencer for owning it. How often does an executive, get up and publicly apologize and take responsibility himself instead of pawning it off on somebody else or wording it in a professional way that says, unfortunately the team behind this,
Right.
didn't deliver.
We failed to
Yeah.
meet our quality milestones.
Right. Whatever political jargon you want to say, but he put it on him,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, he's in charge. I guess he's
Yeah.
ultimately responsible, but
But he also put it on him in a way that I respect, where he's like, where he was honest about it, because they came in when they purchased Arcane. This game was already in development, so they were trusting them to take it to the finish line and stuff like that. And I did think there's some really interesting choice quotes in that interview, like how Xbox has always had a hands-off approach with everything Bethesda does, but that it might be time to reevaluate that approach to their products. I was like, that's a pretty interesting statement. I don't know if you listened to the interview, Scott.
I didn't listen to the whole thing. But I read a transcript of the highlights.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's some good stuff there, and how he was talking about how disappointed he was that because he's been talking about that dream of having a one AAA game every quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and then that hasn't happened yet. And then I really liked, because I think one of the hosts was like, you didn't really hit all the goals you set for yourself in 2022. He's like, no, let me correct you. We didn't hit any of the goals we had set for ourselves in 2022.
So he corrected him in the way that made him look worse.
Yeah, which I really respect the hell out of.
Right.
Good for
He's
him.
being honest.
And he seems to really care about video games, and much respect for that. But to your point, this interview, I feel like most people would have either conveniently gotten themselves out of it, or they would have been like, okay, we still have the interview, but we're not talking about these points are off limits, these bullet points. We're not talking about Redfall or something like that,
How could you not talk about Redfall?
No, I know, but you could see how a CEO would be like, I'll do the interview still, but we're not talking about this, negative press. But he just went into the line of fire, and you can't not respect that. I also like that he mentioned how he wants, Xbox gamers to be able to play everywhere. He wants games for everyone. And he's like, some of our competitors have other strategies that include making exclusive arrangements that we're just not interested in doing. And I was like, hey, there you go. Take a little shot at third-party exclusives. I like it. Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great interview.
Worth going back and listening to?
I think so. Definitely. Okay. It's just, you don't get that kind of insight from a leadership level almost ever. But it did make me think about, like, when was the last time an Xbox game had everybody talking?
I mean, that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Granted, this time they're talking about it negatively, but at least there's a game out. You know what I mean? There hasn't been anything. We had Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah,
which is,
none of those, that was popular on Twitter, I guess, but it wasn't like, didn't set the industry on fire or anything.
Yeah. I can't think of another Xbox title, like an exclusive Xbox title this year.
Yeah.
Not this year.
They really do need to have a tighter rein on their studios. I mean, how do you mess up Halo as bad as they did? Like how do you have a game called Halo Infinite and then not support it?
That's what we all thought it was just gonna be
not
a
live up to
game.
the Infinite part of it.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Very strange. Well, I do want to talk about the Mortal Kombat thing, but real quick, I got to mention this trailer for Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons. Did you guys take a look at this by any chance?
I did.
I did not. Sorry.
Oh man, there is something so nostalgic about Double Dragon and just the music, and the way they've remixed that track in this trailer is outstanding. It looks almost like did you ever guys play like Mighty Final Fight? Like the beat 'em ups where it's like the characters are a little squattier, like River City Ransom from the NES. Remember that game?
No.
I never played it.
I remember River City Ransom. I don't remember. Oh, I do remember their little sprites now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. This kind of looks like a halfway between that and like the ones from the other one I was talking about. I don't know. Just the very pixelated. Like you can look at the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game and say that's pretty pixelated. This looks more pixelated than that. So it's got a little bit of nostalgic flair in it that I really appreciate. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Double Dragon Neon, that one that from like the Xbox 360 era. This kind of looks like a return to form. That's what it looks. It reminds me of Scott Pilgrim, the Scott Pilgrim game.
Okay.
Beat 'em up. But with the artistic flair of Double Dragon, the music and the brothers, and there's a female character you can play as now too. It just, I don't even like the opening level. I don't know if either of you have played the original Double Dragon, but like, there's a garage. that opens up and there's a sports car in there and the two brothers come out after the girl gets beat up. I don't know, just stuff like that just feels very iconic to me. I am excited for that game. So got a little ways to wait, but anyway, Karl Urban as Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. Again, it's not officially official, but the article I read did say final talks. So it seems like this is probably going to happen.
I could have sworn the director did clarify that it was happening on Twitter.
Well, I put this on here two or 3 days ago. It could be.
That is what I remember. I could be wrong.
Okay. I have mixed feelings about it. I freaking love Karl Urban as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of Karl Urban when I think of Johnny Cage, though. For one, I think of Johnny Cage as being younger. I don't know how old Karl Urban is, but I just picture a young, muscle-bound dude. I think Karl Urban can play the character just fine. I honestly worry about his age. I don't know. I'm not the world's most knowledgeable Mortal Kombat guy either. My limited knowledge comes from the movies and the games that I've played, but I only played like 1 and 2 back in the day, and then the more recent ones. So I'm curious what you guys think about this casting.
I mean, I'm the same as you. I really haven't played a ton of the Mortal Kombat games, so I don't know a lot of the lore associated with it. But I do think Karl Urban's a fantastic actor. I mean, I loved him in Dread. He didn't say much in Dread, and his face was covered. But great in Dread. Love him as Billy Butcher in The Boys. I think
his accent is so good.
It is. I mean, I think he could pull it off. I think he would fit in there really well. It is hard to picture him as Johnny Cage, but I mean, they could do it with hair and makeup and wardrobe choices.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, with how many surprises we've had with casting, I mean, we've talked in the past about when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, we all went, "What?"
Oh yeah,
and then that happened. So anything can happen, and Karl Urban is such a fantastic actor. I mean, look at the range that he's had between Dredd. I mean, McCoy, the Butcher. He's done tons of Lord of the Rings.
oh yeah.
I mean,
How did I forget Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, he's just been in so many things. He's got a very wide range of abilities. He can pull it off. I just have concerns about the age. I mean, he's got to be close to 50, doesn't he?
He is 50, yeah.
Okay.
That's just not what I think of when I think Johnny Cage. I think 25.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you guys on every point, except unless they go with the angle of he's like washed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Older version, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe you do like a Steven Seagal approach where everybody thinks he's really tough, but then, the main character meets him and it turns out he's not very good at fighting at all. That could be funny. I think if you play into the fact that he's 50, I think you could make this work.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he could pass for 25, but...
No. God bless him. No. And in the later Mortal Kombat 11 and MK12, the later Mortal Kombats, he is older. He has a daughter who's in her mid-20s and stuff. But in that one, he's a little bit more, he's still goofy Johnny Cage, but he's a little, he is older and more contained. But I think there is a way where you could really make this work, where he's like this washed-up actor, or maybe he thinks this is his chance to redeem himself. And he thinks it's a movie, much like in that original Mortal Kombat film. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out it's real and he's kind of in over his head. I think it could work because I do trust Karl Urban's range.
Yeah, I do as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's a reminder that I need to go back and rewatch Mortal Kombat because I only saw it in the theater the one time, and that was a good time.
I need to watch it in full. I've only seen bits and pieces of the original.
Oh, so yeah, were you talking about the original or the reboot, Scott?
The more recent one.
Okay.
Not the original. The original I remember not liking at all.
What?
I was talking about the original. So.
I like that movie. The sequel is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I've heard the opposite from people. I've heard that people like the Annihilation better than the original.
Who the hell likes Annihilation?
I've never heard anything good about Annihilation.
I've not seen the second one.
It's long been considered one of the worst movies ever made.
Is it really?
Most of the movie is like in one arena or whatever, and it's pretty. You couldn't believe how bad it is. I dare you to watch it.
Okay.
I think it's on HBO Max. So
I know the reboot is, but
I think they
original
just put.
two.
I think they just put the first two or the original two back on there. I think.
Welcome to HBO Max, where we don't think Westworld has a place, but Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you better believe we got that.
Yeah, because they actually pulled that from like you can't even watch it on HBO, right?
No, but what I loved it, they pulled it and it was still in their banner ads for weeks.
That's hilarious.
Amazing.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, I want to remind everybody before we get on to the games we've been playing about Patreon. If you'd like to help support the Gaming Outsider, you can do so at at patreon.com/thegocast. We've got some bonus episodes for you, including we finally got up the Desert Island Games episode with Sean Coates. That is available. That was it was supposed to be our second April episode. We are going to still do 2 more episodes in the month of May. Looks like we're going to be doing a Break the Seal. Excuse me, not Break the Seal, a Desert Island Games episode with David Newman, who asked to come do that episode. And Kevin and I are still working on Grandia 2 and Robotrek. If games would just stop coming out, I could play some older stuff. So, again, patreon.com/thegocast. We do appreciate the support. Let's go ahead now and jump into the new games we've been playing. All right, Zach, not that it matters, but what else is coming out this week besides the most important thing?
I would say, the only thing I think anyone probably cares about is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming to Switch May 12th. I'm sure Scott Clark will be all over that. But,
I'm very excited.
Last Labyrinth, a formerly PlayStation VR game, comes to Xbox Series consoles and Xbox One May 15th. Reworked so you can control it with a controller. Zool Redimension, 2D platformer, coming to PS5 and PS4 May 16th.
We will have a review of that one next week.
Oh, exciting.
Mm-hmm.
This one's an exciting release from the developers of Tetris Effect comes Humanity, a Lemming-style puzzle game. Go to PS5, PS4, PC May 16th. Watch out.
I thought that was a VR game.
You can play it in VR, yep.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a VR game first. I didn't realize that you could play it without, so that makes me excited.
Yep. There was a demo for it a few weeks ago. Yeah, I think that game looks cool. It'll probably be the last weird PlayStation game you ever get.
Mm.
No One Lives Under the Lighthouse comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and Switch May 18th. That is a PS1 retro-style adventure game. Looks very cool. And then Firmament comes to PC May 18th. Gee, Scott, which game are you most interested in here?
Definitely Zelda. I actually bought, this is a sad note, I bought the Collector's Edition strategy guide today. 2 copies.
I can't believe they still making those.
Here's what's funny. It's not coming out till June 16th.
At least they're aware that no one's actually using it as a strategy guide.
Right. Yeah.
It's only for people like you.
But I got a hardcover copy, and then like a regular copy. I think I'll keep the hard copy one sealed up and then maybe thumb through the other one. Maybe not. Who knows? But I have it.
I still love strategy guides, by the way. I think there's an untapped market out there for boutique strategy guides, I think.
There's something about having the book and leafing through that instead of scrolling through your phone
it's just so
or
satisfying.
website. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I do enjoy that. So, yeah. I was a little apprehensive about Tears of the Kingdom with the first early trailers, but that last one got me a little more excited. I am nervous about this potentially being another 120-hour game or something like that, because, man, who has that kind of time?
Well, if you want any information, it leaked 2 weeks earlier or whatever, so you can find out whatever you want about Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, and boy, some of the, I'm not going to name drop here, but some of the other sites are being pretty nasty.
Sorry, are you talking about Kotaku?
Well, I wasn't going to mention it, but
I'll mention them. Yeah, I mean, it's a journalistic website. I don't know. On the one hand, I kind of respect it because your job is to report the news, and that was news, and you have it there, and they have beef with Nintendo, so I kind of get what they're going for. But on the other hand, it's Kotaku, and their integrity left the building about 10 years ago, like Alyssa was mentioning. No professionality.
For the people that don't know what we're talking about, they had posted an article months ago about how people were emulating Metroid, right? On
Metroid Dread. Yeah.
Metroid Dread.
New Metroid, right? Not even old Metroid.
Right. And they were just reporting that people were doing it. They weren't encouraging people to do it. Nintendo took issue with it and then blacklisted them. So they were not able to get an advanced copy of Tears of the Kingdom. And some of the things that they were tweeting was kind of
Well, didn't they write a whole article about the fact that they couldn't get Tears of the Kingdom?
yes,
It was very whiny.
yeah. I mean, I understand Nintendo's a tough nut to crack, but that's why they're a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
Big shout out to their one reporter who used a Nazi bomber image
That's
to
what
say
I was
that's how
talking about.
to say that's how he felt about Nintendo right now. That's really classy.
Oh,
That would get most journalists at most sites fired or quote canceled unquote. But I guess not if you're on the right team.
I mean, if you wanted to get fired, he should have played Hogwarts Legacy.
Right. Or yes. Yeah, or just mention being excited for it. That's all it takes.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. It just really does seem to depend on who you are, huh? You can have any level of hypocrisy you want as long as you're friends with the people that matter. Whatever. Screw all
Anyway,
that.
yeah,
Anyway,
I'm definitely playing Tears of the Kingdom.
that's these are my opinions, not those of the Gaming Outsider. Okay, just to be clear. I don't want you guys to get in trouble for stuff I'm saying.
But yeah, I am. The fact that I can play this on handheld helps. You know, I can play this wherever, whenever, as opposed to being tied down to.
I am so curious how it'll run.
I actually brought I've been keeping my dock at school for my students to be able to play on my TV in my classroom. I brought it home because I need to be playing some Zelda on the TV. I just really need to do that. So,
Right. What
Anyway.
about you, Alyssa? Zelda as well?
No, this is where I get canceled. But no, I still need to play Ocarina of Time like I promised Scott.
It's a superior product, that's for sure.
you've got Nintendo Switch Online, right? We talked about this
yeah,
already.
I've got Switch Online.
Okay, yeah, you need to make that happen.
I do.
Break the
So-
seal.
That is
I
a great
don't have
break the
plans
seal.
I don't have plans to get Tears of the Kingdom,
Oh, okay.
and nothing else on this list is piquing my
Well,
interest.
I'll borrow your copy until you're ready to play. How about that?
Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah.
Don't you already have 6 copies coming your way?
I was like, what?
I have to
I don't
keep it
have a
sealed,
copy.
Zach.
That's right. Yeah, all 6 copies have to remain sealed. You're right.
Actually, I only got one copy. My collector's edition was canceled, if you
Oh,
remember.
that's right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But I did pre-order my copy before they raised the price to $70. So I got a $60 copy of Tears of the
Right,
Kingdom.
but think of all the money you'll have to waste later on eBay to make sure you get the collector's edition.
I'm not going to.
Oh.
Mm.
Guess you're not a real fan. Is that what you're saying?
Well, here's the deal. It releases on Friday, and Target has said that they're releasing them in store only. So a good friend of the show, Jacob, has offered to go to Target for me on Friday morning to try to grab me one. So
That's super cool.
That is
fingers
cool.
crossed. I gave him some. Like, I had a gift card and some money, and
Right.
we'll see if it happens, because I really don't want to miss out on that, because I got the Wii. I got the special edition Switch itself.
Mhm.
I got the carrying case. I got the
Dear Lord.
shut up. There was 3 things. I got the amiibo. You know, I got
okay.
everything but the dang collector's edition. So
It's pretty devastating. I hope it works out for you.
I do
I
too.
hope it does too. So yeah, there you have it.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach?
Honestly, I'm probably not going to play any of these right away. I
No?
mean, obviously, I'm intrigued by Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know if I have the money for Tears of the Kingdom right now, but also, I needed. Are there dungeons?
We
what I
don't
need-
know.
That's
Like,
what I need to know. Well,
Can we
you
know? Because here's the thing: I don't want to know spoilers, but I
Mhm.
want to know that. So I'm afraid to go read any articles to see if they are.
Well, I actually do know the answer to that question, but I don't know if that's considered a spoiler or not because
Yeah.
they refuse to market the information.
I
All right,
saw
we will-
a journalist mention something on Twitter, but I don't want to say what it was.
All right, can we talk about it after we're done recording? Because I need
Yeah.
to know. All right.
Absolutely. And there's also a bit of a business decision where I'm trying to finish up Hogwarts Legacy, but this game's, and I just fit enough to Jedi Survivor. I got another game I need to review. It's just kind of hard to find the time for a 100-hour Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Trust me, I'm nervous.
And not for nothing, that Diablo 4 beta really got in me. I really think I want to play Diablo 4.
Mhm.
It's gonna be the game we're gonna all play together. I can feel it. All 4 of us.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be pretty exciting. I think I'm actually going to buy Diablo 4.
Don't tease me, guys, because last time we did this, what was the game we were all 4 gonna play together? Like 2 years ago.
Was it Borderlands 3?
No, it was
No.
that Gears clone. It looked like a Space Gears.
Space Gears.
I don't
my
think I
favorite
was
game.
part of this group.
Yeah, you were.
Was
Space
I?
Gears. The hell are you talking about?
No, like it reminded me of Gears of War.
Like cover-based shooter in space?
Yeah, it was a cover-based shooter. It was something Lightbringers or Light. I can't
Outriders?
remember. Outriders, yes.
Oh, I don't remember committing to that.
We were all going to play Outriders together, and then the reviews came out, and we're like, it's okay, and we never did it.
Well, I remember playing it on Game Pass. It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well, Diablo 4 has crossplay, so there's no barrier for us. I could play it on I could get my trophies. You can get your achievements. It could work out.
let's do it.
I don't
Let's
know.
do all
Let's see.
4 of it. You can be. I'll even let you be the necromancer.
Yeah,
we all gotta be something different, right? Like,
oh, that case, then I'm calling dibs on Necromancer for sure.
yeah, I assumed as much. Although CB will probably fight you for it.
I don't care.
I might fight too.
Well, he'll have
So
he'll have so much time that he can play every class before we even talk to him.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Alyssa, are you a Necromancer gal as well?
Yes.
So it's just gonna be Scott the Barbarian and 3 Necromancers.
Oh, you know what you didn't put on your list, Zach, is the beta for that is coming out again this weekend.
Yeah, I try not to put betas early access on the list.
Dude, but that's an issue for me.
Because it's the same day as Zelda?
Yeah, and I'm not even going to be able to play Zelda until Saturday, so...
They did that on purpose.
Of course they did.
It feels on purpose.
Of course they did. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the newer games we've been playing. Alyssa, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
You have been playing Mia and the Dragon Princess, which when you hear that title, you think, oh, this has got to be like, this action game, platformer with melee combat. No, this is an FMV game.
Mm-hmm.
And I know very little about the story. This is definitely your wheelhouse because you love these FMV games. What is the story behind Mia and the Dragon Princess?
So it is very much an action title. So you get that correct with it.
Oh, it is an action title.
Yeah,
In terms of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an action movie, and one thing I love about this game is that there are animated backstory segments, which is really cool because I've never seen that in an FMV game, having animated segments. And these segments are so interesting. I would love to see either a spin-off game about the backstory, or even, if they were to make it into a cartoon series or something.
Wait, are you talking like there's actual film characters and then the background behind them is animated? Or
no, like the whole
extra
thing
scenes?
Is there. When it goes to a flashback, the flashback itself is entirely animated.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I love those segments.
They did that in Kill Bill, didn't they?
They
did. They just like kind of go back and they tell Oronishi's backstory.
Yeah.
But it was like an anime style. Is the animation like Japanese animation or what is it?
It doesn't look anime style, but it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It has to be seen to really give it the praise it deserves.
That sounds cool. I'm already intrigued.
And one of the characters, Marshanda, she pops up in the current day, and she's just in a hospital gown by a dumpster, and this girl, Mia, who works at a bar, finds her, and she's just assuming the woman's homeless. She's got this weird compass on her wrist, and the woman only speaks Indonesian and Mandarin, so there's a language barrier there, but she decides she's going to take her to the bar. But then these guys come in, and they want this certain treasure, and Marshanda's compass is the key to that, and stuff goes down. And Marshanda can hold her own. She's a very badass character. It's just really interesting to see, and I love the fight choreography in this. You don't influence that in any way. But it was really interesting. It felt like I was watching a really good action film.
So how is the gameplay just strictly dialogue choices then, or are there any like QTEs when these fights come up?
You're just making dialogue choices or choices where you decide to help this person or that person, pretty much. Or go this way, go that way.
So it's pretty binary decisions?
Yeah, but you can't unlock everything with one playthrough, so you're definitely encouraged to go back and choose different options.
Okay.
But
how long is a playthrough?
It took me an hour and a half for the first run through, but I really took my time. And there are also these audio tours you unlock when you select certain choices, and they are so funny. They're narrated by one of the side characters, and I think he's Scottish, but he just puts so much adult-oriented humor in the little audio tours, which he gives context to some of the characters in the game or items in the game. And they're just a delight to listen to, which that added to the hour and a half. And you don't even have to listen to those. Those are optional, but it's just a delight to listen to.
You're kind of selling me on this pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
Honestly,
man.
it's my favorite title from Wales Interactive and Good Game Media so far, and I have loved all of their titles I have played.
And talk about some of the actors, because again, being full motion video, there are actual actors in here. Is there anybody people will recognize?
I would think you'd probably only recognize them if you're really into nerd culture.
Okay.
The villain is a actor that was in Doctor Who at some points. Let's see. I'm trying to remember where all these people were from, but several of the actors came from shows like Outlander. That's actually where the narrator for the audio tours came from. He was Outlander and Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. I put this all in my review, and I just blanked on the what these people have been on.
Mayana Buring, it looks like she was in Twilight. I don't know if that's if that's a turn off for people or not, but let's see, somebody was in Alien 3.
Mm-hmm.
One of the actors was in Alien 3, Paul McGann.
Right, so they have acting credits.
Yeah. So
yeah.
This is Queen of the Damned. That's a movie I haven't seen in a.
Oh wow! Shout out to Aaliyah.
Yeah, that was a good flick. Yeah, I think you may have sold me on this. If I can find an hour and a half to play through this game, I just might have to do it.
And honestly, it'd be shorter if you don't listen to the audio tours, but they're so delightful that I don't want to recommend people not listen to them.
All right. Sounds good. That is Mia and the Dragon Princess. You're playing it on Xbox, but it is
available pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
I believe even
on
iOS, iOS and Android, so.
Very cool.
Scott, I know how you love SEO optimization, and so does Soul Survivors. Title like that, they're trying to get some eyeballs. I watched the footage of this game. How is it different than Vampire Survivors?
Boy, it is different in that I have not come across any evolutions yet.
Okay.
So, which is kind of the fun part of Vampire Survivors, right?
Like when you say evolutions, do you mean when you combine the two upgrades into a new one, or do you mean just leveling it up? Okay.
No, you're leveling up. Again, if you guys haven't played Vampire Survivors, you probably haven't listened to the show in the past year.
2022's Game of the Year.
But it works very similar to Vampire Survivors in that you start in an open map. The enemies are very, very simple. You collect, instead of collecting gems, you're collecting souls. And once you reach a certain number, you get to choose an upgrade. And those upgrades are going to be more of the flavor that are not going to be your cup of tea, Zach. Sort of like it's, this is going to do 5% more burst damage or something like that.
No.
But it's not in a skill tree kind of way though. There's just like 5 tiers of that, and so rather than having evolutions, they've got. I can choose an earth attack, and then I can also choose, by the way, this thing is going to increase your earth attack by 5%. So it's about trying to find those things that combine and hope you get lucky. I'm going to be direct with you guys. I started this and I was not a fan. It felt, the game makes you feel so incredibly weak at the beginning. I was struggling to last longer than 3 or 4 minutes in the game, to be clear.
Right.
I figured you were going somewhere else with that, but
No, yeah, well, we know that's only about a minute or two elsewhere.
Ah, boy. So in the game, I struggled to get far enough to stay alive for more than 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm picking up what you're putting down, play.
Zach's face.
This is a game that relies so heavily on the taking your gold back and spending it on upgrades for, permanent upgrades on your character. Sure, Vampire Survivors did the same thing, but this one, you're not going to make any progress until you start doing that. Thankfully, the upgrades are pretty cheap early on.
Like Rogue Legacy, kind of?
Yes, but not as complicated. There's, I think each character has, I want to say 8 different things to level up in 5 slots for each. Things like doing more damage, absorbing more damage, speed, some extra abilities that do things. I've been playing. Okay, so like I said, I didn't like it because it was so difficult at the beginning. once I started, the same thing that happened with me with Vampire Survivors. I hit a moment where it started feeling awesome. Well, it started feeling great. Those evolutions in Vampire Survivors, and I feel it's almost feels mean or unfair to compare this to that game, but they're so similar. It's clearly this game would have not existed if Vampire Survivors didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
But those payoff moments, those evolutions, just made you feel like such a god, and I feel like those moments are harder to come by in Soul Survivors. They still happen, but it doesn't quite reach that level, at least from what I've experienced. Now, this game is in early access. There's only 2 characters available to me, and I've only been able to access 2 levels. And at the beginning, you're only able to access 1. And the way I'm still not really understanding an end game. You know how when you get to the end of a level you just have to last for 30 minutes in the other game. In this one, there's actual bosses that just randomly appear when you reach a certain level.
Okay.
And they're tough. And then actually the little health bar pops up, and then it's kind of exciting to try to get through that. But and then when I go back to my level select, it now has these little emblems that look like skulls, and one of them is gone because I beat that first boss. But I beat the second boss, and it didn't go away, so I don't understand what that means. So I'm not really sure what my end goal is, but I'm powering through just because it's become fun. Now that I have actually increased my permanent stats, I feel like I have a chance, and I'm going for 15 or 20 minutes now, as opposed to being done very quickly. And it's really fun. Although I don't have the evolutions, it's still a strategy to match up the correct things to get basically a double increase deal instead, which is kind of nice. There's also, I want to say, these blood sacrifice fountains where you can choose to sacrifice some of your health to get a free upgrade. It doesn't take that much health, so it always seems like a no-brainer to me. And then something interesting happened. I was playing along, and all of a sudden, it gave me the name of a character, and it says, has invaded your world.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, this
Just
character pops up.
Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my thought was, but I cannot tell if it's a real person or if it's just an AI, because the way that I fought this person felt very much like I was fighting a computer. It did not feel like I was playing a person. And I have yet to discover anything in the main menu that allows me to do anything where I can enter into anybody else's world or whatever.
Well, there were certain NPCs in Dark Souls that would enter your
Okay.
world. Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. And then on the flip side, one will show up that is an ally. So the red ones are bad guys and the blue ones are helpful to you and actually help you fight these bosses and things. So again, can't tell if it's got to be AI, because I feel like that would be a glaringly obvious thing in the menu system for this game. But what are you going to do? So, but yeah, I'm hooked. I've been playing primarily with one character who is has a sword, and he much like the whip guy in Vampire Survivors, he just goes in one direction. But you can upgrade that to where he does 2 attacks instead of 1, and then you can do where he goes both directions. And then you get attacks like a giant hammer, like a Thor hammer, kind of comes down and does an AoE effect on everybody. That's kind of fun. You can do this earth attack where it it kind of blasts in both directions, and those get progressively more and more powerful. But the cool thing that this game does different is that each character has its own set of skills. So when you play as a different character, it's kind of like you're playing a different game almost, because the second character doesn't have the same melee attack. He's got basically a mace, like a ball on the end of a chain kind of deal. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a mace.
Yeah.
But you don't have direct control of it like in a twin stick shooter. You have to spin it around you by spinning your character. So you spin your character, and that causes the momentum of this thing to go around, but then if you do it right, you just knock out all these enemies in one fell swoop.
That's kind of cool.
It is a cool feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he's got a whole completely different set of abilities that you unlock once you get enough souls. So I kind of like that aspect of it, because when you play Vampire Survivors, everybody just has the same thing. They may have a different starting weapon, but it's a starting weapon that every character could acquire, right? In this, each character is completely different. It's like you're playing a whole different class, which is an interesting way to do it. So yeah, I am hooked. It took a good couple hours to really get its hooks in me, but it has officially got its hooks in me, and I'm going to see it through for as long as the early access will let me. I've almost maxed out the first character, and almost finished the first level, and then I got one more level to go. So we'll see what opens up. So Soul Survivors, I will say it's not. Again, do I even compare it anymore? I like Vampire Survivors better. So part of me says it's hard to recommend this one when the superior product is free. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Included with Game Pass.
Right. Or $3 if you want to buy it, or whatever it is. Is it up to $5 now? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's $2.99.
$2.99. It's really difficult to not say go that route, but this feels like a better clone than I was expecting. It doesn't quite scratch the itch, and it hasn't quite given me that level of satisfaction. But I'm still really enjoying it. So I'm going to keep going. I'm definitely going to keep going. And there you have it. I got a slew of other games to share with you guys right now. I sat down with David, Kevin, and Jacob to talk about a slew of games here. Tape to Tape, Stray Blade, Shardpunk, Verminfall, and Screaming Chicken Ultimate Showdown. We're going to play those reviews for you right now. Well, hello there, David. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Zack?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I am really intrigued to hear about this game that you're reviewing for us. It is called Tape to Tape, which is a hockey game, but it is clearly not a traditional hockey game by any stretch of the imagination. And first off, I got to ask, because you're more of a sports guy than I am, what is the meaning behind tape to tape? Is it when I hear tape in hockey, I think, okay, they tape the stick. You know what I mean? But is there some other meaning that I don't understand?
I am not a hockey player, but from my understanding, tape to tape means from passing from stick to stick, essentially.
Gotcha.
But you hit on the tape because you actually tape the blade as well.
Right. Okay. So I wasn't far off then. But this sounds really fascinating to me because I'm not a big hockey video game fan. I don't know a ton about hockey. I watched some local hockey games here, and we've got the Blackhawks nearby. But this one is not your typical action-y sports simulation game. It looks like a roguelike, which I cannot understand from the trailer how that works. Can you explain to me and the listeners what you're doing in Tape to Tape? Because I just can't understand it yet.
Yeah, so it is a roguelite where you get certain power-ups and stuff, but you can also get permanent upgrades and everything too. Mm-hmm. So it is more of an arcade style game. Do you remember that game we played for a very short amount of time, like that Super Blood Hockey?
Yeah, I think I played it on Switch.
And I think NHL 94, granted, it's been a long time since I played NHL 94, was more of that arcadey type of game. But this is what that really is. It's more of an arcade style. It's not as gory as Super Blood Hockey or whatever that was called. There's no blood or fighting or anything so far in this game. But what happens is you have a roadmap to get like to the end. Essentially, there's a campaign with this game.
And to the end, do you mean like the end of a season, end of the game, or the goal itself, or like
the end of the game? There's a end to a campaign. From my understanding, is you are trying to get restore hockey, is how it's said. Okay. I'm not quite sure exactly what the story is going for. Your character is a guy named Angus McShaggy, who was a golf sensation and has now decided to play hockey again. Right. Very interesting character. But so back to the roguelite thing, you get to choose like a superstar that you play with, and then you have some benchwarmers that play with you as well. And then you get like certain abilities that you can choose from on each run. And then you can have choosing paths to go like to your end goal.
But I mean, you're just on one hockey rink, right?
So no. So what happens is so the first one that you do every time is you play a game against the Spartans, is what they're called. But you play only until whoever scores the first goal. Whoever scores the first goal, if you do it, you go on. So then usually what happens is you can either decide to rest at a campfire and increase the overall of your players, or
Campfire?
Yep.
So confused.
Or you can like get this special training thing that goes on, and then you play another game. This time it's actually like a 2-period game. This one was against the Greasy Lettuce, usually, or the Meatballs.
Greasy Lettuce and the Meatballs. That was my band name in college.
Ah, yes. That doesn't sound like a good band name, I'm going to be honest with you. So, and there's multiple acts to this game. Like I've played about 2.5 hours so far, but I've only made it to Act 2 so far because it definitely increases the difficulty, and obviously my player needs to get better and everything. It is also just like really funny on some of the things that they can do. Like the last game in the Act 1 is against refs. And so they dress like refs and it'll cheat. What it'll do is like the ref for the game doesn't have a stick, but he'll like body check your guys. And then usually what would happen is you would score a goal and then it would just wave it off. It would say, nope, you didn't score. And they only did that on the first goal. So
you basically have to win by 2 instead of 1 on that turn.
At least.
Yeah.
But
I'm not still clear. Are you still moving around on the ice like a normal hockey game?
Yeah.
It's more of like attacking. I mean, I'm just still can't wrap my head around from what I saw in the trailer.
So think of it like you're controlling an entire hockey team, and you can pass, you can shoot, and everything. You can body check people. The one thing I'll say is that the control scheme is a little lackluster, especially you've played like sim games like NHL. You don't have a real dedicated poke check. You only have a body check, and it's very difficult to body check people. Really only you do is pass and shoot, and then there's an ability one. If your player has an ability, you can do it. One is like you got super speed, and you just press it, and your player goes really fast for a moment of time. There's one that I keep getting beat by the princesses in Act 2 because they have a fart mechanic where they fart and you and the puck like disperse away from those people. It's a very interesting game. It's very fun. I know I am not sure if I'm selling it very well, but I know like it is somehow the roguelite element works for it. It works very well for it.
And you're relatively new to the genre, right?
Yeah. You haven't played, have you played Inscription?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. So you know how in Inscription you like start off and like you play one game against the guy and then like it'll have branching paths off of that. You can either decide that. That's how the roguelite works for it.
Okay. Kind of like Slay the Spire.
Yeah. I haven't played Slay the Spire, but yes.
Yeah, like you take a different path, and then depending on what path you get, you could go to a shop, or you could fight a tougher enemy, or
exactly
branching paths. Okay. Are you recommending Tape to Tape?
So far, yeah, I am. I am really enjoying it. So it's in early access right now, available on Steam. I think it's $20 generally. I think it's on sale until if I'm correct, I think it was May 17th. It was $18. So just a couple bucks, but it was
cool.
I would recommend it if you have a PC. I think it's also Steam Deck compatible as well.
Very cool. I love the developer's name, by the way. They are called Excellent Rectangle, which is just an awesome developer name. And I got to give a shout out to Vicarious PR. They're the ones that hooked you up with the code. So thanks to those guys. Well, David, Tape to Tape sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to chatting with you offline a little bit more about how that goes in terms of completing it. But thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
All right, got a couple more reviews for you right now. I'm here with Mr. Kevin Honigford. How you doing, Kevin?
Great, yourself?
I'm all right. And Jacob Gunderson. Jake, what's up, man?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. It's been a while since we had you on here, but I spent a good portion of the day with you yesterday going to the arcade, so that was a good time.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
These two have covered 3 different games for me, and we're going to go through them pretty quickly. We're going to start off with Kevin. He's playing a game called Stray Blade, which comes from developer Point Break Games and was provided to us by Stride PR, so thank you to those guys. You're playing this one on PC, Kevin, but I know it's also available on Xbox and PS5. This looks like this one came out of nowhere for me. I don't think I heard anything development-wise. All of a sudden, I got a press release on it, and this looks like it could be a sleeper hit. Do you agree? Do you not agree?
If they fix some things, yeah. It could be great. It is a really cool 3D, a genre blending game. It's a little bit of Souls-like. It's a little bit of Metroidvania. But it's beautiful to play through. There are some performance issues. But getting to the meat and potatoes, you are a character. You're an adventurer, and you're going on this adventure, and you all of a sudden lose consciousness, and something happens. You basically wake up with this stone, this glowing stone in your chest. Without getting too much into the story to spoil anything, you find out this stone basically gives you abilities, but also ties you to this world that you wake up in. So you can't get out.
That's an interesting, opening for a story. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And so you have to basically, you're at first, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. You end up running into a little, it's supposedly a wolf, but, basically a little helper friend that kind of points you in the right direction. May or may not have, what do they call it, ulterior motives.
Mm-hmm.
The story is actually quite intriguing. The gameplay is fun, and when I say Souls-like, maybe it's a Souls-light. I remember hearing Zack talk about something that did this not too long ago, but there are dodges and there are parries.
Mm-hmm.
They are each signaled by different colors when the enemy attacks you.
Right.
So the enemy gets ready to attack you. It will flash red. That means you have to dodge that attack. That attack is not parryable.
Gotcha. Okay.
The enemy flashes blue. That means the dodge you have to parry. It is not dodgeable. And you have a basic block that also, all of this uses stamina. Energy is what it's called in this game. And perfectly timed parries and dodges replenish that in the middle of fights. It's really, really intriguing. I had never played a game with that mechanic before. I've played like Elden Ring. I've played some Souls-likes where you have the dodge and the timing and all that fun stuff, but not one where it designates between either or. Mm-hmm. And it took a little bit of getting used to, but once you kind of get it down, it's quite fun. It's very satisfying, but not super hard like a regular Souls game.
That is music to my ears, man. I've been so scared to jump into games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and all that, and because this one looks really fun. I love the design. I'm not gonna say I love it. I find it interesting, the design of the character that you play as, because he's wearing like a Mandalorian helmet, but he's got like a feathered hat, like a pirate hat or something. It's like such an interesting combination.
Yeah, and you will find it's a full blown RPG. You'll find different crafting recipes, and you'll make yourself different weapons, different armors. The skill trees are one of the things I really think needs work on, and I say trees because there's 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
The main one, all of your abilities are learned by using different weapons. You create a new weapon with the blueprints or whatever you find out in the wild or from enemies in chests or whatever, and you have to use that to gain mastery with that weapon. Once it gets mastered all the way, it opens up a little spot that you can spend ability points on to learn that ability. Now, that ability is with you whether you use that weapon or not, but you have to use the weapon to open it up.
So what if you don't like that weapon, but you want the ability?
You have to use it to open the ability up.
How long are we talking? I mean, are you talking like hours and hours? Or?
No, not super long. I think the longest one has taken me, and I've played probably 10, 12 hours now. The longest one has probably taken me is maybe 30, 40 minutes. I mean, you just have to use it. I mean, and most fights are actually there's a couple ways, like you don't necessarily have to fight. You can find ways around them.
So it sounds like it's incentive for you to try different weapons. Just, they want you to play around with the mechanics a little bit, but you're not enjoying that aspect of it?
It's not that that's not enjoyable. The other part is, like, I feel like I have ability points stacked up that I don't have anything to spend it on yet because I haven't been able to create the weapons. Like I found the blueprints, but I need 2 claws or something from an enemy that I've only encountered once.
Gotcha.
So it's a little off balance where that plays out. And the same thing with your companion, we'll call him, also has a skill tree, and he unlocks runes in the skill tree. But again, it's the same situation where I have more points to spend than I can actually spend because I can't. I still don't even know how to unlock his abilities. So if it's something that's unlockable later, then cool. But why am I getting these ability points built up beforehand?
Especially if you're over 12 hours into the game.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird thing to hold off until much later to do. But
yeah,
that's got to be frustrating having all these resources to spend and nothing to spend them on.
Yes.
It almost sounds like the side quests are things that you should be doing in the main quest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's not any like even real side quests. Everything I've done is like a checklist that is basically progressing the game.
Mm-hmm.
There are areas, it's actually a gorgeous world. There are lots of areas to explore, and exploration is always rewarded. Like there's always a chest or always an item or always a rare enemy somewhere. And rare enemies when you defeat them, they increase the amount of healing items you have that you can use per battle or per combat.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that is Stray Blade. I'm sorry, you got more to say?
I was just going to say there are some technical issues too. Like it does get choppy all of a sudden out of the blue, and I did look into this some, and it is like to play this game, recommended settings or recommended hardware on a computer is a 6800 XT, which I have in my desktop. My laptop's running a 2080, which should be able to handle a game like this fine because it's not graphically demanding at all. It's not. I mean, it's very. I don't want to say cartoonish, but it's
like
not
oil painting almost.
Yeah, it's not like cutting edge like Elden Ring type graphics or anything like that. So I am very baffled as to why a game of this type requires that much processing power for the video, and it's still, like I said, I'm running it on a 2080, and it gets choppy every once in a while. I don't understand that at all.
All right. So that is Stray Blade. Again, you're playing on PC, but it's also available on console. Are you recommending people check this one out?
Yeah. If you can get past the little nuances that I spoke of, the technical difficulties if you're playing on PC, I don't know if that happens in console or not. So, but yeah, it's a fun little, I think it's a good entrance into a Souls-like type scenario.
It's a gateway.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we'll come back to you in just a second, Kevin, because I cannot wait to talk to you about Screaming Chicken. But we're going to talk to Jake real quick about this game that he's playing for us called Shardpunk Verminfall. This is another PC game. This one comes from Clockwork Pile Games and was provided to us by Retro Vibe. So thanks to those guys for hooking us up. Jake, this looks very much like XCOM, but with I don't know. Not pixelated graphics, but like
Sheltered.
What'd you say?
There's a game called Sheltered that looks exactly like this game, 8-bit and whatever, and I couldn't help but think about that game the entire time I played.
Interesting. Yeah, it's that very stylized, pixelated art style where the animation just looks really cool. And I, when I first started watching this trailer, was not expecting an XCOM type gameplay, but yeah, it just looks like they've done a really cool job with this. So tell us about it.
So the story is that you're just in some. They say you're in the capital city, but they don't tell you anything else more than that. But the capital's under siege from giant rats. Apparently, it's another cohabitation of the planet that you're on, or something. But you're under siege, and as you're playing, you come across like a little robot. And the whole point of this game is that this robot is basically your life source. You need to get this robot to the people in charge as fast as possible to prevent the rats from taking over the city.
Okay.
And so it is kind of a escort mission the entire game, because the little robot's not strong, but it has perks that it can use to help your other characters that do damage out. There is a robot that does damage, but it's not a lot of damage, just enough to maybe 1 or 2 guys every now and then, but definitely not enough to protect itself. So yeah, there are different characters that have different abilities that use different weapons, and they use some. There are 3 characters that look like they have the same weapon, but the weapons do different things because of the character's specialty. One of them has a chainsaw, one of them has special armor, and one of them can like smash the ground with an electrical spike. So, I mean, the characters are different and yet kind of the same.
Is this like a permadeath situation where you could lose these characters forever if they die?
Absolutely.
Oh.
So you choose there's only, I think, 4 characters available to you at the beginning of the game, and then as you progress, you get unlock points that you can use outside of the game to unlock other characters or even different perks in game to allow you to help you progress through the game.
Gotcha.
And so if one of your characters goes down in game, he goes into a bleed out status, and then you can save him. But if he goes down again, he dies, and it's permanent for that playthrough.
So you
get a death saving throw?
No.
So you can save him once, but not a second time?
Correct.
Okay.
Like in that level,
Yes,
or ever?
in that level.
Okay. Gotcha.
The problem is, though, you're only allowed 4 people max. So if you have all 3 and you find a 4th, when you find them, they're already in bleed out status. And so you revive them and you save them from whatever scenario they're in, but then they can't go down again in that level, or you lose them permanently.
Wow, you're basically protecting that person.
Yeah, this game is for an XCOM game or XCOM-like game. It's brutal. When you play XCOM games, when you go into a level, you know that there's going to be enemies, and you have to find the enemies and kill them to end the level.
Right.
This one, it gives you a start point and it gives you an end point. And the game tells you that you have to get to the end point, and enemies will be coming at you constantly until everyone is in. Well, the end point is a bunker, and you have to open it. And depending on if you, there are certain items you can get in the game. I'll go into that in a second. But one of the items can help you open the door faster. So
Gotcha.
You are basically running for your life through these levels to get to the bunker.
But it's still turn-based, right? Like an Xbox game, right? So
yes.
Can you just avoid fights and just kind of beeline for the bunker?
You can try. I have definitely had 8 or more enemies on the screen at once, and the bunker door will open, and I will just evacuate. Get everyone to the door, and we'll be out, and the mission ends. And you continue. There are, in between levels, there's... I can't remember what they're called now. But you're in shelter, and you have action points in the shelter to heal, you have sanity, like you do in other XCOM games, to prevent your people from panicking. So
yeah, I noticed in the trailer it looks like you can like talk to them and then calm them down, and then their stress level lowers or something like that.
Some characters can talk. One of the guys you start with gives a pep talk, and everybody but himself lowers stress and gets some kind of small ability from the pep talk. You would need another character to help him out with such things. And so these characters have these passive abilities that you can use in the shelter to help each other, and they have abilities on the map while fighting to help each other around combat wise. So you can get Stimpex, you can get the healing shots, you can get grenades, and you can get fusion cells, I think.
Okay.
I think that's what they're called. I can't remember.
And now you mentioned before we started recording that you already finished this game. How long did it take you?
Start to finish, it probably took me 5 hours. Oh, maybe longer than that.
And I'm gonna be direct with you. I'm not the world's biggest XCOM fan. I don't have anything against it, but every time I try to get into it, I just can't. It just never has been able to sink its claws into me for some reason. Is this one going to do that, or is this a little bit too hardcore for someone that struggled with XCOM?
This might not help.
Okay.
I went into this thinking that it was going to be somewhat like XCOM, and I found myself hiding in corners trying to defend the people, especially the robot, from the rats more often than not.
Because so you do know how to hide.
Oh, D&D jokes. Great.
For those that don't know, Jake is in our D&D group, and he's a rogue. And our entire campaign over the last 3 years, he's hidden twice. So, just saying.
Failure. Anyway. So, yes. It is kind of a... Because when I play XCOM, I usually have, my heavy guys run forward, and they do kind of, damage, and my snipers sit back and take out people as they can. And in this one, you can't do that. You get overwhelmed quickly, and if you have your team split up, there's not enough damage to kill everything that's coming at you at once to protect that person from going down. And so you're kind of moving everyone kind of like a Rainbow Six style through these levels. I'll hide behind this wall, you hide behind that wall, just corner to corner, point to point, and trying to pick up stuff along the way. But there's definitely a lot more. There are a lot of pickup points in the levels to get, but you risk taking more time in the level, which will allow more rats to come, which just prevents even further movement.
Gotcha.
Also, in XCOM, in the early XCOMs, you had to make ammo. In the new ones, you just had to reload and whatever. Shardpunk does a heating cooling system, so your weapons get hot the more you use them, and you have to take one action point to vent the weapons so you can use them. If you have an overheated weapon and you decide to use it again, it has a chance of blowing up in your face and dealing yourself damage.
Ouch.
Oh, so you are left in situations where, do I take the shot? Do I not take the shot? Do I risk my own damage to stop them from damaging someone else and whatnot? And with the you get healing supplies, food supplies, the grenades, the Semtex, and the fusion cells. During the sheltered points, you can feed your characters to give them health and to give them dodge chance if they are already at full health, and you can use healing supplies to permanently heal them, whereas the stim packs don't. They give you temporary health in game, but does not carry over into the next level.
Gotcha.
So it is very resource management as you are going through there. And I thought, in the final level, I thought I was off to a great start. I walked in with, a pocket full of everything, and then I spent 4 hours on the final mission by itself, ruining everything that I had ever collected throughout the game, and almost losing, but pulling out in the end.
Nice. So that is Shardpunk Verminfall. Are you recommending this one for people to check out?
If you like those kind of games and want something that's harder than what you've played before, definitely get this game. It is brutal.
It sounds like it.
And that was on normal.
Oh, wow. There's even a hardcore.
There's a harder difficulty than that.
Wow.
Gotcha. All right, we got one more. And Kevin, I have been very eagerly anticipating talking to you about Screaming Chicken. Is somebody making the chicken? I couldn't tell if you were making that noise or if that was Screaming Chicken Ultimate Showdown, which, yes, the trailer has that. You know the TikTok videos where those guys like makes those squeezy chickens that sing songs?
Yep.
Yeah. This sounds like I'm not gonna lie. This makes me a little nervous that I'm gonna get annoyed like 5 minutes into playing a game like this, because every time one of these chickens walks, it makes that noise.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, you've kind of become like the king of party style games, Kevin. With like whenever we get one, it seems like you're reviewing it. But this seems to fall in that category of like Fall Guys or that Kung Fu kickball game that you had us playing one night when we had a few drinks in us. But I can't understand what you're trying to do in this game. Will you please explain to me what Screaming Chicken is all about? Because it looks hilarious.
So Screaming Chickens is it's a brawler. It's basically if you take Fall Guys and Gang Beasts and put them in a box together with some rubber chickens, you get Screaming Chickens.
Okay.
It is just a wild, wacky, zany, crazy, last one standing wins. It's yeah.
So your goal is to like knock them off or to destroy the enemies, right?
Yeah.
Because it looks very obstacle coursey too, like Fall Guys. So I was very confused as to the ultimate goal here. Are you going through an obstacle course, or are they just like static stages?
No, they're
like arenas.
They're static stages, and but the stages are all environmentally hazardous, and that obviously comes into play as you're fighting people. You'll have stages that have springs that will throw opponents into spike traps. You'll have lava pits. You can grab your opponents, like that's where the Gang Beast reference comes from, and throw them into pits or traps, whatever. The part that makes this interesting and keeps the skill level, kind of like an even playing field, is you have, like, each character has the exact same weapon, we'll call it. It's basically a bomb or a grenade. You can throw it. There are different ones that will come onto the screen and you can grab, and each one does different. There's like grenade launchers. There's laser cannons. There's ones you get that will like reach out to another player, and then while it's attached, you control that player.
Oh, weird.
It sounds weird, but it's the best thing.
Run them into the spikes or whatever.
Exactly, and that makes for some great, shoulder punching fun. But you can only use them X amount of times, and then they're gone. And if you want another one, you have to go find another weapon, or you're just back to your regular grenade. So there's no, once someone gets a rocket launcher or something, it's not game over. If you can just withstand the 3 attacks or whatever it is that they can make with that weapon, they're not going to have it anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it keeps, like, no matter how, quote unquote good you get, it's always kind of that level playing field, because you have the same chance at getting a stronger weapon as everybody else there does, and you're only going to have it for X amount of shots.
Right. So I know you played this with your sons, right?
Yeah, I actually, just to clarify, I have not gotten a chance to play it with both of them, only Logan so far.
Okay. So, are you guys playing on your own PCs in the same room, like just laughing at each other? Tell me about that experience.
No, it's so he will sit down at the desktop and I'll sit in my recliner, which is 10 feet away, and we just beat the shoot the heck out of each other and just talk all kinds of smack. And most of what we were doing was laughing our butts off at what happens to you or the other player when you like you take a rocket launcher and you think it's just, I'm going to blow this guy up, but it also kicks your character back. So many times one of us would shoot the other one and it would damage them, but in the process we'd kill ourselves.
So you got to be a good enough distance away to make sure you're not getting that splash damage.
Yeah, and there is stuff like some of these levels have like the chompers from the Mario games. It's a blatant ripoff of the chompers. There's so many different fun and cool. There are springs that will literally knock you off the stage. It's just a fun, zany game that just another one, like I said, that is more laughter than anything else, and it's so great.
I know this one's just on PC. Do you think there's any hope of this one coming to console? Because that sounds like a great one for Switch.
I was going to get there. Yeah, I don't understand why this is not on Switch. because this is, and you can do, I mean, it's set up for local co-op. You could play on the same computer, but it's much harder to have 4 Bluetooth controllers hooked up to a computer than a console. So I don't understand why it's not on console, but it really does belong on a Switch.
Okay. That is Screaming Chicken Ultimate Showdown. It looks hilarious. By the way, the developer is Chicken Studio. And this one was also provided to us by Vicarious PR, so thank you very much. Kevin and Jacob, thank you so much for stopping by and reviewing these games for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
No
Thanks
problem.
again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, we'll catch you guys later, all right?
See ya.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate that. Lots of new games to talk about, and some of them I really need to play. Stray Blade, Zack, sounds like a game that you might like too.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Over on Facebook, which can be found at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast, we got new members Trisha Bain and Megan Colburn. I think Trisha Bain is actually one of my students who went onto his aunt's Facebook account and joined the Gaming Outsider because he doesn't have it. I all of a sudden started getting DM messages from this Trisha Bain saying, "Mr. Clark, it's me." And I started calling me. I'm like, no.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. Also, we on our Discord server, which has got some great conversations going on, you can find that in the show notes for this episode. New members, Brian Rigsby from the Retro Games books. He's an awesome dude. Cyclops 1984 and Renato are all new members of the group. Welcome over there. Also, I would like to humbly ask everybody, if you get a chance, please drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. We do take any and all feedback to heart. We actually got a review this week that was not so positive, and would really like to kind of balance that out. So if you like the show that you're listening to, well, we would love it if you'd help us out. But whoever you are, sir, madam, whoever it is, we have taken what you said into consideration and are working on it. Also, our website is thegamingoutsider.com. There you can find all of our written content and all of our episodes if you'd like to go through the back catalog. Up now, you've got Alyssa's review of Varney Lake. We've got the review for Kung Fury Street Rage by Sean Coates, and then Alyssa's review of Mia and the Dragon Princess. Again, that is thegamingoutsider.com. With that, let's go ahead into our From the Outside In topic. This week's topic was Zach's idea. He wanted to know what video game myths we fell for back when we were kids. You know what I'm talking about? Those secrets all your friends talked about on the playground but wound up just being urban legend. So before we get into the actual things, I wanted to know, what do you guys think? Why do we fall for these things? Was it just because we were young and naive, or was it more that we just wanted them to be true so badly? What do you think?
There's just so much we as kids believe, because when I was a kid back in the 90s, we all believed in dang chain letters. Like, we thought if we didn't spread it around, that thing was going to happen.
I never believed that, for the record.
But I do have to preface
older.
this by saying I went to a Lutheran school and there were only 10 students in my grade. So we were a little bit, probably more naive than some people were.
Yeah.
And just on the gaming front, my friends didn't really play games, so I'm just going to say that ahead of time. I didn't have a lot of experiences hearing about gaming myths as a child. But we definitely, urban legends, my friends were all like, let's go to the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times. And I'm like, no! Because I was such a chicken back when I was a kid. But yeah, we all believed something would happen if we said that. It's just, I think, just a part of childhood. You just believe and you're trying to tempt fate, see what happens.
I suppose we should talk about other myths that we believed as a kid. Like, for instance, I believed it was against the law to drive around with your dome light on in your car.
Oh, yeah. I heard that one, too.
Yeah, you heard your parents told you that one, too?
Because they didn't want you to read or whatever in the back, or play Game Boy in the back.
Yeah.
I never heard that one.
Always told that was against the law to have the interior light on in your car while you're driving. And no, they just didn't want it on, so they told us it was against the law.
For many years, because I had a really unfortunate mole on my left armpit. and I always wanted to just cut it off as a kid. And my mom said, if you cut a mole, it never stops bleeding, so you can't do that.
My mom told me that too.
Really?
Yeah.
And I believed that well into my 20s, and then I just got sick. I just took a scissors to it one day, and guess what? It healed. It was fine.
Did you really?
Yeah, man.
Ow.
Oh my God.
Why would you pay hundreds of dollars for a doctor to do it when you could just snip?
Well, I mean, I've got this one on my left hand. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed.
That looks
as
like
a
a
kid,
freckle.
It's a mole. It's
tiny.
raised up. But I actually,
you.
I love it now. But as a kid, I'm like, I'm so. It makes me look weird from all the other kids. I hate it. But mom's like, don't try to. She's like, don't you ever try to remove that. She's like, you'll never stop bleeding. But also, it's so close to my skin that it would be a dumb idea to try to do it. But anyway, yeah, I heard that rumor too.
That's fascinating. Both our
That
moms
is.
were liars like that.
Well, both
Only-
of our parents were liars when it came to interior lights in our cars too.
Well, actually, but my mom, when I told her I cut them all off or whatever, she still thought she had been lied to when she was a kid about moles not bleeding, and did not. And so I educated her when she, was almost 50 or whatever. Like, hey, no, you can cut those things. It's
So
fine.
she started doing it at 50. Like, I'm going to start cutting them off now.
No, I don't think everyone's as crazy as me. It's just gonna snip them, but
Yeah.
Oh, I just
hey guys, it works.
you talking about snipping moles off just gave me a childhood memory.
Okay, I
Okay.
want to see where this goes.
Oh, it's not that big a deal. My grandma, my mom's mom, she passed away when I was 7. But I remember being at her house, and she had a mole in the back of her neck, and she wanted it gone. So I remember clearly she got scissors and cut it off, and then ran to the kitchen and grabbed like a frying pan and held it over the back of her head so the blood would go into the frying pan instead of all over the place.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And
It's weird.
forever,
It's weird she didn't just take like a cotton ball and push it down on the wound and like bandage it over. But
she also did that too because they didn't have a lot of money because my uncles also lived with her. They were her sons. They didn't have money to go to the dentist, so they'd pull their own teeth too if they became rotten. And again, they would use the frying pan and
What
just
is
spit
this
in it.
frying pan.
I don't know why
Do
they
they-
didn't use the sink, but
Or just go outside, spit it, or go to the shower.
but
Why
I
the
just
frying pan? Did they use the frying pan for eggs still after that?
they would cook, but I don't remember like
Yeah,
I'm sure they did use it to be honest.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I was terrified to have my teeth pulled, and I was like, every time, like, after that, after I saw my grandma cut her mole off, I was like, no one get close to my moles. I do not want to have to bleed into a frying pan.
Oh,
Right,
my
which
goodness.
is a requirement, obviously. For any self-surgery, you have to keep a frying pan nearby.
But also, I just
Anyway.
can't imagine how painful that would be. It just,
I'm just picturing it. Anyway, as for me, I think it has to be young and naive because I feel like some of that naivety has crept into my adult life too. Because it took me a long time to really wrap my head around that people will lie to you. It was
Right.
just something that did not compute to me when I was a kid. Like, why would you lie about something? My young brain could not comprehend
oh,
like why anybody would mislead you. Like, so when I heard something, obviously it was true. You know what I mean? Which I understand is 75% of the people that read the internet nowadays. But
Right.
so I think most of it, I think it's a combination of both. Being naive, but then you want it to be true as well.
Yeah.
This thing has got to be true because everybody's talking about it. So I'm just going to believe it, and you're not going to talk me out of it. And
Right.
then we get into our 30s and 40s, and
Well, especially for stuff like this, you're like, well, why would anybody even bother lying about something so stupid anyway?
right.
Turns
I
out
mean-
And that's
people-
just it, because they want to be,
yeah.
because somebody out there is the first one to do it, and they know they are. And even though no one will ever believe that they are, because, of course,
Yeah.
I was the first one to do that. I started that rumor. You know what I mean? That's
Aren't
all it is.
I hilarious? I wasted my friend's time.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into it. What are what lies did you believe during your gaming career as a kid? Who wants Zach, let's start with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like there were plenty when I was super young, but two that immediately come to mind is, of course, I'm sure you guys had experience with this. well, I don't know, depending on your age, was the idea that you could unfreeze Zora's domain in Ocarina of Time as an adult.
Yep.
So I remember there was something, I don't remember the particulars, but there was something about, I would read different theories online about, I don't know what, you would think as soon as the first one didn't work, I'm like, well, obviously this is junk. But no, apparently my brain was like, well, I guess that one wasn't right. So maybe this person's right. So I would just go down this list of things to do. But I remember one of them involved, like, you got to take the fire arrow and then go to the spirit temple. And then if you shoot the right mirror, it'll give you a blue flame arrow. And then you can use that in the Zora's Domain like you could on the king or whatever. And I think, I want to blame Nintendo partially on this one because you can unfreeze the king. So it doesn't seem unbelievable that you could then unfreeze the rest of it.
It's a very Zelda thing for you to be able to unfreeze Zora's Domain. Like, that's just, you kind of almost expected it at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I got had. It's unacceptable.
That is a good one.
But the one that wasted the most of my time was, I loved Metal Mario when I was a kid. I thought he was the coolest. And my buddy Justin was like, oh, yeah, no, he's my favorite character in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I remember hearing this one.
Yeah, I was like, he's not in Smash Brothers. And then he told me that if you can beat the game with every character on very hard without losing a life once, that you unlock Metal Mario. And then I immediately happily reported to my brothers, like, guys, I figured out how to get Metal Mario. Could you, dude? And we spent weeks, probably months, beating Smash, becoming pro-level Smash gamers. Mm-hmm. And then finally we beat the game with every character on very hard without dying as them. I remember we had a little checklist we made to make sure, like, okay, we beat it as Fox without dying. Sweet. Then we move on to the next character. And lo and behold, it turns out Justin was a liar.
So did that turn you off to Smash Brothers? Do you not like playing the game now because you just played it so much?
It probably has something to do with it, yeah. Because I was like, yeah, Melee's fun, but then by the time the next one rolls on, I'm like, yeah, I'm burned out on Smash. Yeah. So screw you, Justin. How could you do that to me?
Oh, that's really funny. Is he in the newer ones? Is Metal Mario in the?
I don't think so. No, even if he was, it would just be a skin for Mario anyway. Why would they make him a separate character?
Because they could sell it?
Well, yeah, you're right. And then they could sell an amiibo and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Freaking stupid 8-year-old Zack out there. Wasting his time. Wasting his brother's time, too.
You probably could have entered a Smash tournament when you were 9.
We could have all three entered and got first, second, and third place.
That's pretty good. Did you have any others?
No, not the Kingdom. A lot of them are getting covered in the comments. So
yeah, I was struggling too because I came up with a bunch, but our community covered it. So we'll get to those shortly. Did you have any, Alyssa, that weren't on the list?
I only have one that's not on the list. I was gonna mention one, but it is in the comments, so we'll save that. And I don't know if I don't know if this was a true thing that you could actually make happen, or if my uncle was just teasing me. But in the original Tomb Raider, when you first get into the first area where it's that kind of snowy area, and that's where you learn to jump and all that kind of stuff. He told me if you did a certain amount of moves or you waited a certain amount of time, you could trigger a tiger to appear. And I tried for so long to get that tiger to come out, and it never did. And I would always get so frustrated, and then when I would get frustrated enough, my uncle would take the controller and play. So I don't know if maybe he was trying to get me not to play his game.
Wow.
He's trying to turn you off a Tomb Raider?
Because I've never heard anyone else mention the tiger appearing.
That's a very specific lie.
But I tried so hard. I would do every single movement he said was required to get this tiger to appear. I would wait, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was he told me, and nothing would happen. I'd be like, why is the tiger not spawning?
What would you do if a tiger spawned? Just fight it?
I guess. I was just hoping for a tiger to come. And, I mean, this is the very beginning of the game, so you just, you just got your little pistols at the beginning, so, I mean, probably would die, but I was just excited to see a tiger come out.
See, those are so funny because it reminded me of one me and my cousin fell for, where we thought in Grand Theft Auto 3, right? Because they didn't have the plane, they just had the dodo, which you could just kind of glide up and down, if you remember. It wasn't like a real plane. but I remember we, for some reason, believed, I don't know who he heard it from, that if you could fly the dodo all the way around the map a few times, it would unlock a real plane that you could fly. And so we kept trying it. It wasted so much time, but when you think about it, they're like, why would a game developer hide a better feature from you like that? Why would a game developer hide the tiger from you like that instead of just making you fight a tiger?
I know.
Why would they hide the plane that actually works from you and make you use this one that sucks?
Zach, I think you might be onto something. Again, we got to patent this idea. Just think, unless it's a stupid idea. I want a video game that is nothing but crazy Easter eggs. Yeah. Like it's an open world, and the whole goal of the game is just to go around and try to uncover stuff that you would never uncover on your own. You know what I'm talking about? Like you were
kinda
talking
like Fez back in the day, where the people had to work together.
Imagine that, working together.
Yeah,
man, I tried. I feel like Fez is a game I would like to revisit, but I don't even know. Can you even play it anymore?
Beats me.
I don't know.
I thought I got pulled or something because.
Do you think Phil Fish nuked the code when he nuked himself?
I don't know, but I don't know. I just think I can't think of this open world games with the humor.
Saints Row.
Wasn't like Saints Row 2 where like you unlocked like a giant rubber ducky out in the middle of like the ocean or whatever? Like it was like a super secret thing.
That's awesome if true. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, who knows? That could be a myth. I mean, I've seen videos of it, but I don't know if that could be easily doctored. But like stuff like that, like where, like take that idea, but just really lean on it. You know what I mean? Where it's just all this weird random stuff.
Yeah,
I really like that idea.
And then no matter how many Easter eggs the community finds, just be like, there's still some left
because you would never know because it could be, and then it would turn into just this giant lie. Like everybody lying, saying, "Well, dude, I went over here and I jumped 3 times straight up in the air and then did a backflip and this happened." And so it would be like it would be this whole complicated mess of what is true and what is not, and everybody just going and finding everything they can and experimenting with it and seeing what happens.
Hey, that could be the thing that triggers the tiger.
There you go.
It's our idea. It is the Gaming Outsiders idea. So if this happens,
no one
there better be a damn tiger in that game. I'm just saying, for Alyssa's sake. There needs to be a tiger. And it needs to be in a snow
Alyssa
level.
would appreciate that so much.
Yeah. For me, I'm surprised that neither of you or anybody in the community put this down, unless I missed it. I feel like I put them all in there. But blowing on an NES cartridge actually helps it run. We all believe that, man.
Yeah, we all, and somehow we all independently arrived at that conclusion.
You know what? That's a good point because we all just tried it, right?
Yeah, nobody taught me to do that. I was like, this will work.
And honestly, blowing into that actually can damage the game because any kind of moisture on contacts like that is not a good thing.
See,
especially if you're a kid.
When I was a kid, I was like, "Oh well, your saliva is wet, so it's like water. It's conducting the electricity of the chip to help it run."
Yep. My brain went the same way, man. Yeah. In reality, like. Just taking it out and putting it back in, it does the exact same thing. The issue was the
it doesn't feel like it, damn it.
It doesn't. my trick, I don't know if maybe I'm weird, but my trick was to to pull the game out so that it could get close to the part that it was rubbing up against as possible.
Yeah.
That was my trick for NES games. It was like not to push it in as far as you can. It was to pull it out as much as you can and still press it down. Again, probably does nothing, but
no, of course.
I remember I think Nate, who used to produce our show, replaced the pins in my NES for me. He actually bought, it was like $25 just to have the connection inside the console done and replaced. And when you put the game in, it was like you really had to shove it in there because the pins were so new. Worked every time though. No blowing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Just so that's the issue is the pins. So that was the biggest myth for me. The other, I don't even know if you would consider this a myth, but I kind of believed it for a while. The Madden curse. It
was irrefutable for many years, wasn't it?
For many years, man. It was like if you were on the cover of Madden, you were going to get injured. But
I didn't know about this curse.
Yeah, so it was started as like a joke, like if you get on the cover of Madden, because somebody got on the cover of Madden and then they got hurt, and then it happened a second time, and they're like, it must be a curse, and it just kept happening. Like even Brett Favre was on the cover of Madden and got hurt. Like, had never been hurt. And I got hurt the year that he was on the cover. And there's a lot of NFL conspiracy people out there, especially when it comes to scripting the NFL. Like, this is going to happen because it will sell better on TV if we make this kinds of things happen. My buddy Tyler, Tyler, Zack, like straight up believes that it's all, that the NFL is all rigged. So this probably falls under that conspiracy theory kind of thing a little bit, but there was a hot minute where I believed it, and I wasn't a child. So
yeah,
that is on my list. But all the rest of mine were ones that we're going to talk about here as well. So let's go ahead and jump into those. We'll start over on Facebook. Our very first comment, almost immediately after I posted the question, was Scott Calgaro, and he said, Elder Scrolls 6 is in development. Thought that was pretty funny.
Well, you'd have to be a sucker to believe that one.
They had, hell of a logo.
Those rolling planes they CGI'd over look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, they promised Skyrim Granny would be in this game, so
they
can't let her down.
That's true.
Oh boy, yeah, forgot about that.
Also, Bill Gardner II said nude mode in Tomb Raider. I was a pervy kid. Sorry, not sorry. Did you guys believe that one?
Of course.
I didn't know about it when I was a kid. Again, Lutheran school.
I was a teenager when this came out, and we all hoped. We tried.
Step forward, step back, step to the left 3 times and jump.
Seriously, what you remember?
That's what I remember.
Was that like the universal, like everybody knew?
I have no idea if that's like what it actually was, but I remember that's what I was told.
Here's the funny thing. Why would you have wanted to see that? Like, do you remember the original Tomb Raider? She had like tissue boxes for boobs.
But remember at that time, though, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this looked this real. Games will never look better than this.
Honestly, I think the movements you just described were the ones my uncle had me do in that game to try to get the tiger. Are you telling me he was trying to trigger nude mode and having his niece do it?
That's awesome.
Goodness.
Or at the very least, he knew those movements from trying it himself and was like, oh, this will be fun to trick her with this.
No.
We just blew Alyssa's mind.
Oh, no.
Oh,
so
boy.
tiger is code for something else in Alyssa's house.
Titties.
My uncle.
Oh boy, that's awesome.
Is your uncle still with us?
Yes, he is.
He's
I
awesome.
would really like you to record that conversation so we can hear it when you talk to him and ask him about that, because I got it,
He
or
probably
at least
will
tell us.
actually acknowledge it now.
It would be
There was some Tomb Raider, right, where there was some movement pattern where if you did it, then she would like die, right, or blow up. Because the developers put it out there as a cheat code. I could have swore, maybe that's another myth I fell for. I could have swore there was some Tomb Raider where I'll have to look it up after the show, where they had like put out like this is the code to make her nude, but then it would actually kill you.
Is that actually happened?
I remember it happened. Well, now I'm worried that it's some myth I believed.
Do you remember which one it was?
I don't. I'll have to look into it after the show.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, so I'm probably just a sucker young man falling for it. I do remember at the end of Tomb Raider 2 when you beat it, though, she's about to step into the shower, and she says,
"Oh yeah,
you think you've seen enough?" and then shoots you with a shotgun.
I do remember that because my uncle also played that part in front of me.
Dude, Tomb Raider 2 is so good. That's the best of the classics.
Yeah, you think could they remake those games? Do you think, like just the same?
They probably
retouch them up and
rebuild
them.
Love the hell out of that. But they remade the first one with the Anniversary Edition. I mean, it was pretty changed, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of room for Resident Evil style remakes of classic Tomb Raiders, I think.
Because I mean, those puzzles would still work, but I feel like those would be so hard to play nowadays. They were hard to play then.
Yeah, they were.
Well, you it's an acquired taste. You start to learn how the grid works.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not for everybody. There is something special about the fact that you had a different, after you jump, you had to push a different button to grab a ledge. That was always cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving on. Zach, why don't you take the next one?
Sure, Brandon Smith writes in, the one about being able to unlock Zack and or prevent a certain character from dying in FF7 had me mastering the speed square in the gold saucer so that I could earn all 35 of the 1 in 35 soldier items and running all around the world doing other various weird things, all for nothing. Yeah, we all heard some theory about how to undo that death.
Yep.
I love that we're now in a world where we have to censor spoilers for a game spoiler that we used to talk about openly constantly.
I know, but we still got to, because
no, I know. It's just if they remade Star Wars, would we all have to pretend we don't know that Vader is Luke's dad?
No, I think that Star Wars is more widely. But I mean, I guess if you're listening to a gaming podcast, you probably. But
the FF7 spoiler is the Vader's Luke's dad of video games.
The difference is that you can watch Empire. You can get through Empire in 4 hours. To get to that point in Final Fantasy VII, you're talking 25 to 30 hours. You know what I'm saying? So the number of people that have actually taken the time to do that is different. I mean, I can tell you part of the reason I've been sticky on this particular spoiler is I know Christina from our team has still not played the original.
Right, but I just find it hard to believe you play video games constantly and haven't just heard that spoiler.
Because that one people just blatantly say all the time. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a spoiler I'm thinking about, I never played the original, but I know about it. If it's the one I'm thinking of.
If it's a spoiler for Final Fantasy VII, that's the one. Yeah. So,
right.
Anyway, moving on. Alyssa, why don't you take the next one?
Grant Henry writes, I fell victim to the classic Shang Long April Fool's joke in EGM, even though the advertisement for April Fool's was right at the bottom of the page. 13 is a bad year for the brain. I never actually attempted it, but the art was pretty convincing.
Yeah, I kind of miss when April Fool's jokes actually kind of worked. You know what I mean? I feel like everyone is just like privy to it now. Like there's just no fooling. Granted, we were younger and more naive, right?
Right. I remember there was one on GameSpot I fell for hard with Star Wars Galaxies, where they had an announcement of a new character class, the Sarlacc Pit. And I was like, what?
Seriously?
But there were like 17 paragraphs about it, and how the new defense stats work, and how, there's like a digestion perk. And I was like, man, I can't believe they would really do this. And I remember for weeks I thought it was real. And then I looked it up. I was like, when's it getting added though? And I was like, oh, that's an April Fool's joke.
Didn't we do a whole episode on April Fool's jokes that we fell for?
Yeah, I probably told that exact story.
I don't know. I think the first time I've heard that one.
Oh, really? Well, Star Wars Galaxies was so much it was in the players' hands that it was like I wouldn't, like the game had like no towns. It was up to the players to build the towns, and people had to be the bartenders and the dancers and stuff like that. It was a pretty unique idea.
So you're just going to sit there and be a Sarlacc pit and wait for people to get thrown into you?
Yeah, I would have put it past that game.
And then you got to wait 1,000 years for your hunger to be satiated.
Right.
Or 1,000 years, rather.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, Sean Coates says, this one actually turned out to be true, but still sounded unbelievable, and that's unlocking the other bonds in GoldenEye multiplayer. The story goes that Rare had programmed the game to include the other Bond actors as selectable characters, but they couldn't secure the likeness rights, yet the code still remained and could only be unlocked by using a Game Shark. You could choose Sean Connery, Roger Moore, or Timothy Dalton, yet no love for George Lazenby.
Oh, that's never happened to the other guy.
Honorable mention, he said Michael Jackson doing the soundtrack to Sonic 3. I was recently told that. Is that not true?
Well, I was going to say, Sean Coates, I don't know if I'm going to blow your brain here, but the creator of Sonic confirmed this last June.
He ruined it?
No, he confirmed it.
Oh, he confirmed it. Okay.
Yeah, he confirmed that it was, because I guess there was some kind of remix in the Sonic Origins re-release, and he's like, did we get rid of Michael's song? And I was like, oh, he just, okay. And then like somebody, asked him like, are you confirming this finally? He's like, oh yeah, I guess I did.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. I was gonna say I didn't know that was a myth.
Either.
I thought that was for real. So
it is for, well, it was a myth for 20 years or whatever. But yeah, June 2022. We'll never forget it.
I did not know about the Bond thing. I kind of want to get and I didn't know there was a 64 Game Shark, by the way.
Oh, I definitely knew that.
But if there's I'm gonna have to track down a 64 Game Shark, or I'll just Google it. I suppose I can.
I was say,
it.
You really want to go all effort just to see a weirdly digitized Sean Connery face?
I kind of want to see what they did with it, because those faces were creepy in GoldenEye.
Yeah, because they were like they were weirdly stretched over the model or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Totally.
I don't know why you'd want to be any Bond but Brosnan anyway, but
I mean, it's just fun.
right. No, I was taking a quick shot that he's the best.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But it's just like, I think we've had this conversation, but it's like Saturday Night Live, whichever one you grew up with
Exactly, yeah.
is the best. So
Your first Bond is the best Bond.
yeah. All right, Zach, why don't you take the next two?
Oh, sure. Andrew Zek writes, I thought the 64 DD was going to become available to the public. Also thought Connect Illumaroom would come out. I don't remember that at all.
I don't know what that is either.
Yeah.
What's 64DD?
The disk drive for the Nintendo 64?
Oh, okay.
I think.
I remember, I believed that there was going to be a separate component for the... I actually believed that the 64 was going to be an extension of the Super Nintendo.
Oh, really?
Like it was back when the Ultra 64 rumors were swirling around. I remember like taking off the cover or looking at the back of the 64 and finding they had like there was a port on the back of the Super Nintendo that was like an auxiliary or something like that. And I totally believed that you were going to set your Super Nintendo on top of whatever the 64 was going to be, and it was going to, triple the graphics or whatever.
Wow.
Like I was full on board with that, man. I was so excited for the Nintendo 64, man. You have no idea. Like I could not wait. I literally, because I couldn't afford to buy one when I was a kid, I rented a console.
Oh, yeah. From Blockbuster or something?
I think it was Movie Gallery, but yeah,
Okay.
I totally rented that for a weekend. And me and my best friend Dave, all weekend, just passed the controller and played Mario 64 over and over and over again.
It was a revelation.
Dude, at the time, that was just so mind-blowingly awesome.
Of course.
But yeah, I totally believe that the 64 was going to be something you plugged into your Super Nintendo.
Just like everyone else thought about the Wii U for the Wii.
Right. The ones that bought it and thought they were just getting, or the ones that didn't buy it because it was just an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible marketing. But jumping over to Discord, Brandon, this one cracked me up when I read it when you wrote it in, because Brandon Lloyd writes in 4K 60 FPS. It's not happening these days, huh?
Yeah. Not in Redfall, that's for sure.
No, well, even in most games, right, you have to choose between quality or performance mode.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's just you can have 4K, but it's not going to be 60, or you can have 60, but it's not going to be 4K. There's just no...
You have to choose.
Right, it's one or the other. But I remember when these consoles are coming out, they're like 4K 60 guaranteed, baby.
Mm-hmm. And then as soon as 8K comes out, it'll be just start the whole thing all over again, right?
Yeah, and I'm already annoyed with having to do... I miss just booting up a game and playing it, but now I gotta figure out the game, I gotta figure out the HDR sliders.
I gotta invert the controls. I gotta...
Well, luckily you can set that at a system level now. Are you going to do quality or performance mode, or do you want quality mode with ray tracing, or do you want performance mode with anti-aliasing buffering? I'm like, I just want to play the game is what I want to do.
And I still am like not sure what barely visible means. Does that mean that
Yeah.
I have one click from where it's completely invisible, or does that mean I can kind of see it? Like you know what I mean?
Also, I have windows, so should I be adjusting the slider when it's nighttime for different maximal volume or whatever, volumetric lighting?
Yeah.
Tell me, just you're overwhelming me with choice. I always feel like I'm making the wrong decision.
It's 2023. Why can't my TV detect, or why can't my console detect what is best?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like
That's true.
That's if I turn on my PlayStation, it turns on my TV. So obviously they're communicating.
Right.
Why can't they communicate
Sometimes
better?
my TV actually does do that, but the console doesn't do it. My TV will say, I see that you're playing on a game console. Let's go ahead and switch you to gaming mode.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do
Does
it the
that
other way
even
around.
does that even make a difference? I don't even know.
It does. It's more of, it just, to my eyes, it just feels like a brightness thing more than anything else. But
Yeah.
I'm not seeing like a whole, I would love to see it like, have you ever seen The Cable Guy where he's adjusting the TV with one hand and he's got the remote and he's doing this and like all the brightness and color and tint and fade and all that, or like he's doing it like he's programming on the Starship Enterprise or whatever. Like he's data.
I gotta hire somebody to give me the most out of my console.
Right. Yeah. I would love to see my TV just like all of a sudden go nuts and then just have this beautiful picture, but because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. So
Yeah, because I thought the idea of the game mode was that it's reducing all the bonus features of your TV to make the latency lesser.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I just turned it on because it says game.
I'm probably like underutilizing what my expensive TV can do because I just had to have a big TV. And
because I swear sometimes it feels like you need a PhD in television to figure these things out now.
Right.
No.
Yeah. All right, Alyssa, you're up.
Rusty writes, unlocking Luigi in the original Mario 64. Spent weeks trying using some clearly trolly guide online, but alas, I was a child.
I think that one was believable because why would Luigi not be in a Mario game? You know what I mean? Like it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely also fell for the Luigi and Mario thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was also told Yoshi was on the roof, and I was like, that's not true. And then that was true.
So then you're like, well, then Luigi's got to be here too.
Yeah, then there's got to be a way to unlock Luigi. Yeah, why would you have, like you said, why would there be a Mario game without Luigi?
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, he should be fetching my mail.
1,000-Year Door?
I remember the first Paper Mario. It could be the second one too, but I just always remember how hilarious that was. Like, Luigi's in this game. Get your mail for you.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what we know what Nintendo thinks of this guy.
Let's see. Next one is Edwin Smith, who said that tapping the B button once the Pokemon was in the ball helped increase your chances of catching it. I know it's not true, but I still do it to this day.
That was one I was going to mention, yeah. As a kid, we were all like, yeah, push the B button. It'll help you catch Pokemon better in the balls. So I'll be
this
like,
is true, right? It's got to be true.
I don't know. Like,
I can't not push the button, so I have no way of knowing, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
It feels like it increases my odds.
I know. I still do. Well, I haven't played a Pokemon game since the 3DS, but up until that point, I would always push the B button while I was trying to capture whatever Pokemon I was trying to capture, because I was like, this has got to increase my odds right here.
Dude, this reminds me of in Dragon Age Inquisition, with the developers, because there's a sprint button in the game. And then for the developers years later, we're like, yeah, it actually doesn't move you any faster. We just zoomed in the camera and added like a wind effect to the side of your character. So it just made you think you were going faster.
That's hilarious. I did not know that.
Pretty amazing.
I didn't know it either.
And it made me rethink everything. I was like, does rolling not make me go faster in Zelda? Is that just a lie too?
I don't know. Speedrunners do it, so I assume it has to.
Well, they do backflips, don't they?
Well, it depends. Speedrunning Ocarina of Time breaks my brain. I'm watching what they're doing, and I can't even wrap my head around what's happening. It's nuts.
The only speedruns that interest me are the no glitch runs. Those are the people that are really doing some fascinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually somehow manage to beat the game legit in like 4 hours, I'm like, what? But you see them, they're like sidestepping because it's 1/10 of a second faster, but it adds up over time.
Right.
Yeah.
There was one I saw of Mario 64 where somebody found this glitch, but he broke it down into what has to happen in order for you to get it. And it was something like you would do this thing over and over again, and you had like a 1 in 1,000 chance for it to happen. It was like completely random that this thing happened. And it wasn't like something that happened in the game. It was something that was buried in the code that just happened. Obviously it wasn't anything that was supposed to happen, but like, how do people figure that stuff out?
Dude,
it just
blows the mind.
Seriously blows my mind. I'm gonna find that video because watching it was kind of fascinating.
You got to watch that Final Fantasy VII speedrun where they beat it in 8 hours with no glitches. It's unbelievable.
That would actually be kind of fun to watch. Like,
dude, it is.
Can you still read the text, or are they like going through it so fast that you can't read any text?
It's not. You wouldn't do it to like get the story.
Yeah.
But the commentary over it, where they kind of explain what's happening and why things are working, is pretty great.
I might do that. I haven't.
Dude, I'm gonna send you a link. It's a hell of a watch.
Okay. I want you to go ahead and take the next one, Zach.
Sure. Alan Sheck writes, Pokemon Red and Blue has a moment where Team Rocket, the main antagonists, invite you to join them. That character automatically declines with no dialogue options, and most of us didn't even think about it. There was a kid on the playground that casually mentioned he just chose yes at that option, was able to join Team Rocket, and can now capture other trainers' Pokemon. Dude, I remember this lie on my playground, which the game does not actually allow. I restarted the game at least twice trying to do this and was unsuccessful, and because I was very protective of my one save file, I'm pretty sure I played through the entire first part of the game in one sitting each time to test it. Needless to say, it was a lie. The same guy tried to tell me I could get unlimited rare candles and master balls by talking to the same old guy and walking around the outside of an island, but I wasn't falling for his crap the second time. Dude, I remember I didn't remember this memory until it was you could steal other people's Pokemon. I remember being told that you could join Team Rocket and you could take other people's Pokemon. What a lie.
So clearly there's a bunch of jerks when we were kids that just decided they were going to like try to troll all these kids in the playground into doing this stuff. It's kind of sad. All right.
But you believe them because, this is probably the same kid who told you about Missing No, the glitch character, and then it's real. And then you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Surely this next lie will be correct.
Again, we were kids. And what else are you going to do with your one game you get every 6 months?
That's true.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you might as well just try to do all this stuff. I remember when I finally decided to sit down and try to breed the gold chocobo in Final Fantasy VII, but the steps leading up to that made it sound like it was made up. Like, part of me thought, I'm doing this, but this is going to be BS, right? Because it just was so convoluted and stupid. Like, who's figuring that out? Like, because there was no clues or hints to do any of that, right?
Yeah, no, not. There must be, right? Or
it was so
maybe
convoluted.
Not. Yeah. Well, the game developers used to kind of be mean back then. Remember the Castlevania where you had to like crouch in the right spot to progress or whatever it was?
Oh, to cross the invisible bridge or whatever?
Yeah.
Or no, you had to crouch and attack in order to make like a tornado appear to carry you across or something like that.
That sounds right.
I think it was
but there's nothing telling
2.
you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, we need an Easter egg video game, man.
You're right.
But that would be the cool thing is all of them be references from actual myths or actual stuff from games.
Yeah.
Do a little half and half. That'd be great.
Dude, this needs to be a thing. This could be a serious indie game thing that would be awesome.
Well, and if it's an indie game, we could, make sure there's a nude mod. We could do the nude code. Finally.
You do the nude code, but it still is like covered in black bars or pixelated.
Yeah, a little pixelated over, mosaicked.
Yeah. That'd be pretty funny. Alyssa.
Drew Ross writes, Series X and PS5 doing 8K.
Is 8K even a thing? I know there's 8K TVs out there, right? But it's a ways away from being mainstream, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not mainstream.
I mean, I even wonder if some of the games I'm playing now are playing in or do I can't tell, man.
No. You can't tell until Digital Foundry tells you that you can tell.
Right.
And then you just spout that information out loud and try to make yourself sound smarter.
I feel like the jump from 1080p to 4K or whatever was that the last one?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the jump was significant when you watched like nature shows in 4K. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but I just stopped really noticing, and I feel like I'm kind of over the fancy TV craze now. I just want the bigger one that does what I need it to.
I feel like when HDR is implemented well, you can really tell that there's a difference, but that's more to do with that high dynamic color range than it is to do with the actual pixel count, right?
Yeah, or when we get that ray tracing on console.
Yeah, I think that stuff looks good.
Yeah.
I still couldn't tell you 30 from 60 if you had a gun to my head, though, frame rate wise.
I don't think I can either, but I don't know. I feel like I get yelled at whenever I write. How can you not see that? I'm sorry, man. I can't. That's why I always choose, what are the two modes? Performance or
performance or quality?
Yeah,
usually,
quality.
right?
Quality,
I always do quality because I just feel like if I can recognize the quality. I can see that difference, but I can't anyway.
Well, sometimes with quality they add like extra foliage and stuff too, so it makes the world feel a little bit more alive.
That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our last comment comes from Doomerang over on Discord. He says, my biggest gaming myth was probably keeping General Leo alive in Final Fantasy VI, but I can understand it not being true. They got to give you more reasons to see Kefka as a serious threat.
That spoiler we could just share.
I was just going to say, I realized as soon as I read that. I should have read it in my head first before I read it out loud.
If only they killed off a main character to make Sephiroth more of a serious threat, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That's right. You haven't played Final Fantasy VI. I just realized that. Well,
no, it doesn't matter. No,
I guess we're never going to do the second half of that Patreon episode now.
I haven't played it either, so
Oh no, dude! I'm getting those Pixel remasters. You better believe it,
dude. I've been seriously thinking about it. If I just don't have time, I figure by the time I have time, they'll be cheaper. So,
if physical copies were easy to get, I would have tried to find a way to get it.
Don't get me. That makes me so angry that those are that like it's actually difficult. They're not even collector's editions. Like
No,
just
it's
a regular
print,
physical copy
Yeah.
you can't get does not make any sense to me.
It's just a mean-spirited of Square Enix, really.
I don't understand it. But anyway, Zach, that was a great topic. Thank you for the idea. I had to search. I could have swore we did it, but I could not find the topic done in the past. So that was a lot of fun. So stay tuned next week for our topic, which has yet to be determined, although we got some ideas floating around. If you've got a good idea for a topic, let us know. Actually, did we skip community questions this month? Did we?
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
well,
I don't know. I don't remember the last time we did one.
if you've got an idea, though, let us know. You can hit us up on the socials. We'd love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Thank you so much for listening. This episode was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemmagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Zach, what parting words or recommendations do you have for our listeners this week?
I just rewatched Django Unchained last night because the only stories I interact with now are westerns, and and holy crap, that movie is good as hell, man.
Is that the first time you saw it?
No,
Oh.
no, of course not. It's just it had been a few years.
I
watched-
saw it in the theater, and it's actually on my list of movies to rewatch because it's one of those that pops up on TikTok all the time for like
Oh, really?
this, where like talking about Leonardo DiCaprio and how he
broke
was
his
talked
hand.
into broke his hand, or he was apprehensive about using the N-word on camera and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta go back and rewatch that movie, and I just haven't got around to it. Is it streaming anywhere?
No, I mean I have the Blu-ray,
Oh, okay,
so I don't know if it is or not. Sorry.
that's okay.
Physical media for the win, man. But no, I watched it several times when it came out. It's my favorite Tarantino movie.
Oh wow.
It was just nice to rewatch it and be like, oh yeah, still very good. Happy to hear it.
I think my favorite Tarantino movie is Christoph Waltz. Just anything that he's in.
Rewatching Django is almost upsetting because he's a good guy in it.
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
he's such a charming, great guy.
Mhm.
Why don't we get more opportunities to see him as a nice guy?
Yeah.
And he's a dentist that kills people. What an amazing movie.
I gotta go back and rewatch it. I still haven't seen the last one, the What About Hollywood?
Once
Once
Upon a
Upon-
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that one, and I just need to see what's going on in that one. But Alyssa, how about you?
It's pretty good.
I started watching Love and Death, which I was a little apprehensive to because I watched the Hulu series Candy last year when it came out, and this is covering the same crime. But I actually prefer this one so far, and this is not even finished yet. It's 4 episodes in, and it's covering the true case of Candy Montgomery killing her friend because of having an affair with her husband. That's not a spoiler.
We can't spoil real murder.
Well, I've had people get mad at me before for actually talking about true crime movies and stuff. They're like, I didn't know that detail.
I hate society. I hate them all. Spoiler culture is out of control.
Yeah.
You're spoiling real life events now.
It's crazy.
Don't tell me who got drafted by the Bears, man. I'm going to watch it when I get home.
But anyway,
That one I get.
I like
I'm sorry.
that-
I didn't mean it.
it's okay.
No, that one I don't understand that one at all.
But I like that this series in particular focuses a lot on the characters and why why Candy Montgomery and her friend's husband got into an affair, and then it's just going more in depth with the story. Candy, the previous series, really just focused on the murder itself and the trial. This is going further and expanding on it, and I think Elizabeth Olsen does a great job. She doesn't look like the real life Candy Montgomery, but she's a phenomenal actress, and of course Jesse Plemons and Lily Rabe, Kristen Ritter, Patrick Fugit, they're all
Wow.
great.
I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
One, is it steamy?
It's not. I mean, there are some intimate scenes, but you don't see anything besides
Okay.
them. You can tell they're doing it,
He's out.
Right. Yeah.
but you don't
No.
see it. There's no nudity.
Right. Well, I was gonna say you don't need more Elizabeth Olsen nudity. There's plenty of that out there, so it's not a deal breaker, Scott. But No, number 2, what is it about this murder that makes it so fascinating that there would be not one but 2 shows about it?
I think it's just probably because the fact that this woman killed her friend in such a gruesome manner. She used an axe.
Okay.
And they
was this the inspiration for So I Married an Axe Murderer?
I don't know. Yeah, spoiler. Sorry.
Yeah.
True crime story.
Next you're going to tell me she gets caught.
But yeah, this was back in the 80s. So everyone was convinced a woman couldn't do it because the axe would be too heavy.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to say anything else about the story, but...
That's freaking awesome. Boy, we used to live in a different world, huh?
Yeah, right? Speaking of steamy, I decided to watch this show. Kids, if you're listening, do not listen to this recommendation. I don't know why I decided to, but I started watching Euphoria on HBO.
Yeah, it's steamy, all right.
Have you watched it?
No, just based on its reputation.
Yeah. It's uncomfortably steamy because you're watching it going, oh, these are supposed to be high school kids. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're adult actors, but
right.
You get halfway through an episode and you're kind of like, and then no, wait a minute, these are supposed to.
But that sounds. I mean, I remember being in high school. There were definitely some intimate situations.
I did not go to high school like this high school. Holy cow! This is a very smutty show. In terms of, not just in, I mean, there's lots of nudity, lots of sexual situations, but it's not quite to the level of Shameless, because that's more done with humor. This is done in a more serious tone, but there's some pretty cool writing in this show, twists and turns, and some characters that do some twisted things. Really? And I finished the first season before I realized there was a second season. I was like, oh, I'm all caught up, and then all of a sudden it starts rolling another episode. I was like, there's 2 seasons. I had no idea.
I think there are also 2 movies that take place between the 2 seasons. I think.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that because I started up the second season and I did not. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch. But
I heard they're gonna try to roll ahead with the newest season without writers, so prepare for that to be terrible.
That'll be great.
Yeah, we're having another strike. Sucks. Pay people what they're worth, please.
Yeah.
Right.
Just do it. Anyway, I would be really curious to hear what you guys think of that show because it makes you feel dirty for different reasons than just sex. It's a very like unsettling, like, is this what the world is really like kind of thing? Is this what high school is really like for some people?
You do like dark and unsettling shows.
I do. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I know. My cousin has watched the show, and my cousin, I think he's in his 50s. Anyway, if I can't say this word, I'm sorry. But he said there are too many schlongs in this show for me.
Oh.
He's like, it's a really dark show, but
as long as you say it only once.
Okay, but there are too many of those in this show for me.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's hilarious. Well,
I've never seen it, but that's what my cousin said.
On that note, thanks to Zack and Alyssa for joining me. It was a blast as always. And until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zack Parkerson and Alyssa White, and we are the Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.